we're gonna start with our Taking Positive Steps Certs Award.
Yeah, Miss Bardwell.
Oh my gosh.
So actually, this is from September 11th. Finally got Erica to show up.
I haven't been doing anything at all.
Yeah, so again, we nominated Erica for the Taking Positive Steps for Service Award for her work on the Lodi Pride video, so the Guardians of the Galaxy, and all the things that came with that, and all the work behind the scenes for all the 10 years. She's been involved in all of the videos. So I really appreciate all the work that she does, the storyboarding, the organization. Like when you take the whole student body and put them on a football field or soccer field, Erica organized them, and it was unbelievably well done. But then obviously all the other things she does. Musical this weekend, if you've been there, it's awesome, unbelievable production. She's working, redoing the color guard for Thursday night, because we're going to state football, and they gotta shorten down their shows so they can be at halftime, so we gotta redo that. And all the other things she does, so thank you so much, Erica Bartlett, for everything you do. Here's your pay raise.
Thank you. It's perfect.
Anything you'd like to say? We're gonna take a picture.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Where do I look? This doesn't make me nervous at all. Little
Not
did you
very often to
know.
see Erica nervous.
I'm showing up today. Thank you.
That was gonna be nervous. They brought you here a long time.
Erica, obviously, I grew up with you, I've had the privilege of working with you, my children have worked with you, and I've never heard one person in this district say anything bad about you. The kids respect you, you are amazing, I don't know how you do it all, but thank you.
Yes.
It would not be the same without you.
And you know how hard it's been not to eat that candy bar for 2 months.
Sitting right on it.
Yeah.
As long as it's not out of date. It's a Twinkie bar.
All right, so we do not have any presentations tonight, and we do not have public input. So we are going to move on to our consent agenda items. We have our vouchers, the payroll checks, accounts payable checks, the automated clearinghouse payments, and the credit card payments. We do not have any fundraiser request. We have 2 fundraiser reports, the baseball concession report and the WADA fundraiser. We do not have any field trip request. We have some committee recommendations for approval, our facility and finance committee recommendations, our CISA reading training and our PAC spotlights, and our personnel committee recommendation and our certified staff internal substituting. For other, we have our musical rehearsal state football conflict, so they've requested a Wednesday night activity request, and our Lodi High School trail and our Ice Age trail extension. We do not have any retirements. We have one resignation of our middle school special education assistant. For co-curricular, we have our school forest coordinator, our volunteer forensics coach, our middle school boys basketball assistant coach, middle school girls basketball assistant coach, JV2 girls basketball coach, Rotary Interact club advisor, and assistant mock trial coach, which was an add-on just recently. For crew, we do not have anything tonight. For our regular staff, we have a long-term high school instrumental music substitute teacher, long-term agriculture substitute teacher, adjustment to OSC long-term substitute teacher, and a middle school special education assistant. And for personnel, we have 3 leave without pay requests, and we have an administrative professional improvement request.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the additional approval of Mitch Hauser as assistant mock trial coach.
I'll second that.
Motion by Sarah, second by Terry. Any more discussion? Anyone, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Sorry, anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, so now we have our administrative reports. Let's start with student services.
Hi Heather, thank you. First, I'd like to highlight our district school psychologist, Andy Rubino, during our National Week. This year's theme is Let's Grow Together, and Andy does so much work around our school district to help students learn and grow. We had our second developmental screener on Friday, October 27th for the school year. We had 7 students and their caregivers attend the screener. For the month of October, our psychotherapy center of Wanakee was able to provide 118 sessions for our students within our school district and buildings. I held a nonviolent crisis intervention training on our collaboration day, November 3rd. We were able to train 8 staff members. And finally, we held a youth mental health first aid training on October 24th and October 26th. We had 3 participants, and I'm very happy to have 3 additional adults in our community trained in this work.
Before you move on to the next one, I just want to say I was one that attended that mental health training, and you did a phenomenal job. It was excellent, and not just for youth, but, you know, in my position dealing with the elderly, it's very, can be very similar. So any staff, when it's offered again, I highly recommend
Yes,
going. It was excellent.
I could second that for sure, because it was very eye-opening.
Yeah, very.
And the Psychotherapy Center of Wanakee, 118, I would say that's pretty shocking, to be honest, so I'm glad that we continue with that.
It's a great
Thank you.
service to have.
Thank you, Andrea. Lodi Primary School.
So just a couple highlights for preparing for the future, the decodable readers, that's been something our teachers have been doing an awesome job of integrating into their small group instruction, and it takes our core phonics skills and then it gives kids an opportunity to practice reading it in a text that they can easily read because they know the skills for that. So we had purchased a number of decodable readers, and we're continuing to build our book room with that. But the teachers have been doing a great job of using that with their students, and the success that they're seeing with the students is pretty awesome too. And the kids are feeling much more confident in their reading skills because, again, they're books that they are able to really read as we're focusing in on those skills. Nurturing the whole child, super excited about our school families. We had our first family gathering on the October 25th. We're actually going to have our second one next Monday. And again, it's just a chance for students to be in a vertical kind of group with other teachers and staff, and it's kids from 4K, kindergarten, first and second grade. So there's about 19 kids that are there. They're all named after fruits or vegetables. It was funny, one of the teachers was going around, they start with a morning meeting or a greeting, and they had to introduce themselves, and so I think that one family was, you'd introduce yourself as, I'm Mrs., Amy Tomato, and they all ended their name with Tomato or something like that. But this next one that we're gonna focus in on is talking about what is pride, and so we're linking a lot of the things about Lodi pride with those school families. But it's been really great and successful, and so excited about that. And then for Pillar 3, I'm excited about what our assistants came up with the Guardians of Lodi Pride Lunchroom Helpers. Our junior helpers, Errol Andrews actually was the one that designed the aprons and say Junior Guardian of Lodi Pride. But in order to help in the lunchroom that sometimes can be a little bit chaotic and not always the smoothest, the assistants thought it'd be helpful to have some helpers. So they're kids that are demonstrating expected behaviors, and they get a chance to wear the aprons for lunch and help out, and that's also been a big success there too.
So the school families, I think that's a great idea.
Oh, it's wonderful.
I mean, typically when they get older, they start interacting with other grades, but now you're starting it so much younger. I mean, I remember being like a kindergarten and thinking second graders were scary, like.
And it's cool because the second graders walk the 4Kers back to their classrooms, so you watch to see this. And if you actually have siblings, you're in that same family.
Oh,
So they get to be with this, or if there's teachers that have their own kids that have that. But then, you'll stay with those, and the second graders, they'll move on, and 4Kers
I
will
love that.
join
That's
in.
awesome.
My girls are in the same thing.
Well, with siblings, we teach them how to fight them.
Fight.
Sibling size one, yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
And Lodi Elementary OSC.
Yeah, so thank you. A couple updates. So as you can see on our balanced scorecard statement, one of the things we focused on was our win structure. And so that's a really hard picture to see, but that's just one example of the things that we put in place to try to help meet our kids where they're at. And I put in some information about there, but one thing that kind of stood out that I wanted to clarify was the 1/3 of our students getting additional instructional support. What's happening to the other 2/3 would be your question, right? So the other 2/3 are getting either reteaching, right, or pre-teaching. So they're getting reteaching or pre-teaching, some extension opportunities. Also sometimes to, it might be some times where they're having some book choice or some reader's theater as well. But a lot of that is a pre-teaching and reteaching. So, and then, hats off to Katie Greer and Brenda Otts for the work that they're doing, helping that system, that adjustment to our system. And then also, we had, our MyView Essentials. We are really working on that. Staff have been doing it great. We just had our check-in at our collaboration day, and staff are really starting to feel really good about not just looking moment by moment at the curriculum, but being able to look ahead and really think about how this is going to impact our students, and just really getting them some of those organic ways to apply what they're learning, right? And so it's been really good to see that with staff as they get more comfortable with what's being asked of students, and students also getting comfortable with the routines. Same thing with OSC and Sunday. So students are really starting to, that phonics instruction, really starting to dig into that, and we're seeing a lot of good gains in that practice as well. There's some good Facebook posts I stuck in there from different things. Also our math updates. We are really focusing on math fluency and how we're doing that across our grade levels and gathering some information. This is an example of spring math, which is what OSC is using right now, and just how they're working in partners to progress further in their math fluency. And then the last thing, or last two things, I guess. So nurturing the whole student, we have obviously our goal with morning meeting closing circle. It's a big part of our day that I think has become just the way we do business, but just the impact that you can see, even in those pictures of the way that students are able to interact with each other, to understand they belong, understand that they can, that they're an important piece of our overall community, and that their presence matters, right? And so gives them some chance for voice as well. And then the last piece I put in there was just our, we gave students an opportunity for some voice, and I asked them what was some things that they love best about our school, and so that's a word cloud, and so the larger a word is, the more answers that piece got. So obviously teachers are on there, but lunch is important at our school.
Amazing.
And so, but this is how they describe our learning environment. There are some pretty unique ones if you zoom in on some of the small ones, but it's just neat to see our kids understanding and recognizing that the core values that we have as a building isn't just us as staff having that, but it's also them as students, and for staff to see that they're making an impact, right? And so, yeah.
I think my favorite word is hilarious. I've never heard a kid
Hilarious.
describe school as hilarious.
Well, I like friends. They've got
Yeah.
friends, teachers.
Thank you. All right, Lodi Middle School.
All right, thank you. So first thing is 8th grade field trip, and I don't know if I put this on last board report, but September 28th, we took the 8th grade over to American Players Theater. They watched the Merry Wives of Windsor, and the 8th grade does an awesome job of getting kids prepped for that. They do some Shakespeare reading to kind of give them some background into the play. But then even cooler, if we go to the next thing, they actually, from that same play, they actually had 2 actors come to Lodi Middle School, and they put on a play, a little skit called The Merry Wives of Wisconsin, I believe. So that was a really fun day. The kids really had a great time, and the 2 actors that came over from the play did an awesome job with our kids, because they were super excited about that the whole day. I'm going to keep scrolling down here. 6th grade did a field trip to our school forest. It was in alignment with our social studies curriculum. They're working on maps and different kinds of maps, and they went to the school forest and they tried to make a map of the school forest by marching around and kind of seeing what kind of shape they would come up with. In addition to that, they worked on some poetry out there as a part of their language arts curriculum, and really just spent the day outside in nature, enjoying and utilizing our school forest. Then we had a middle school dance, which is always a highlight for me, is one of my favorite things of the year whenever we have a dance. There was 113, that's not a joke actually, it's a great, I think it's super awesome, because you get to see a totally different side of a whole bunch of different kids, and we had 113 kids stay after school on October 26th, and the DJ did an awesome job with the kids, really keeping them involved. And I will tell you, believe it or not, the songs they dance to the most are the ones that we danced to like in the 90s. They do love their Taylor Swift, but they were doing the Rick Roll, like they had it all going. So, and then I just included some pictures too at the bottom of Halloween. We just had a ton of participation in Halloween. So just wanted to include some pictures, got some at lunch. And then I do want to acknowledge our Taher food service personnel. They're unbelievable, Melissa, Lacey, and Carrie. They just go above and beyond, and there's so much about the kids. You know, as an example of what they did, they decorated the entire lunchroom for Halloween. They had like bloody little kid handprints everywhere, and bloody footprints, and they had like a fake hand, like as like it was a part of the lunch, like wrapped like it was for sale in like a, you know, like a meat bag. They just do an awesome job with the kids, and they, you know, understand kids, and they understand this is about relationships. And you know, I just really want to acknowledge all the effort they go to, because the kids really appreciate it too. I hear it all the time how great our school lunch is, so I'm just really pleased. And yeah, there's a picture of Lacey dressed as for Halloween. She actually had like white contacts in, which were kind of creepy. And then that's Pat Miller, our custodian. He also dressed up for Halloween. I don't know exactly who he was, maybe Thomas Jefferson or something, but again, I really appreciate all the efforts. Taher goes through at our school, we really appreciate them.
So Derek, do you get out on that dance floor too?
Yeah.
Of course. I have to lead by example. I spend most of the time just trying to corral the kids out there. They're pretty good though.
Thank you. Lodi High School.
All right, thanks, Heather. First of all, I wanted to highlight some things that are happening in the classrooms, just two of them. First one is writing for publication. A few weeks ago, Renee Potter's class had an opportunity to attend the Fall Scholastic Journalism Conference hosted by Kettle Moraine Press Association at UW Whitewater. So there were 9 students that were able to attend with her, and they had a great time, learned a lot of things. And then the human geography class that's taught by Mason Kittleson took part in the UN World Population Conference that was online, which I thought was really cool. So students were assigned to different stations where they analyzed maps and data to find global population trends. So, and then there are a few others. Moving on, we did have the junior practice ACT that took place on October 25th, so I wanted to thank the teachers that helped proctor that exam, which took away from their schedules a little bit. It was done in the morning. Also our food service for providing snacks for our kids. Elise Kearney, who did a lot of the planning for us, and other people. And then Grant Lemke, who is our counselor, helped get that prepared. Hopefully that will allow our students to be a little bit more prepared for the ACT that will happen in the spring. We did get our results back, so we'll be sharing that with families and we will be doing some work with our students based on those results. The Thailand exchange, I'm gonna let Caleb take that, so he's gonna talk about that a little bit in his student report. There's also the German exchange, so they returned after their 3 weeks in Germany. You can see the students that were involved, and I wanted to highlight Sarah Gleiss, who was the leader over there. She does an amazing job. She had a lot of experience in Sun Prairie as a German teacher and German exchange coordinator there. Also Maya Ashback and Jim McKellar, who are both teachers at the high school that were able to go. And then also Mason Kittleson, who did some of the planning before they left. So appreciated their time over there. Students had a great experience. Moving along, the National FFA Convention. So I wish Brent was here, but Connor was unable to attend the FFA convention, and he had a backup plan. That backup plan fell through. I think another plan kind of fell through. So Vince called me one morning. He's like, "Who's gonna chaperone? I got a guy sitting in my office that might help you out." So a former FFA teacher and ag teacher, Brent Richter, went along with our students, and he said he had an amazing time, probably too good of a time because he used some of the old advisors that were there, but had a great time. So the kids were awesome. You can see the kids that are highlighted that were able to go. I'm just glad they get that opportunity. It's a great leadership opportunity, and to meet kids not just from the area, but meet kids from all over the country in Indianapolis. So I really appreciate Brent. I wish he was here because he made it happen. So, and obviously a lot of the planning that Connor had done up to that. I'm not going to talk about the musical except for one little piece because Caleb's going to cover that as well. I asked Erica to send me some numbers as far as the musical is concerned, and I think this is pretty amazing. Number of students involved, 66 students. And you can see how they're broken down. Number of adults involved, 36 adults. Some of them are paid, some of those are volunteers, and some of those are hired musicians. And then the number of hours, approximately 160 hours rehearsing with students, 500 man-hours spent on set building, painting, lighting, and sound, 400 minutes of vocal practice tracks made for students, 30 songs with choreography, and approximately 185 costumes. That's amazing to me. So I really appreciate Erica and everybody else that puts that time into the musical. And if you haven't been to the musical yet, you'll get an opportunity on Friday or Saturday night. You should go see it. I saw it on Sunday. It was outstanding, as it is always every year. So I appreciate that. Kayla's going to cover NHS ceremony. And then there are some things that are highlighted as far as some pictures, some of the great things that our students and staff are doing you can look through. And then, I don't know if you know, but we are playing in the state championship. It's not in my report because it just happened. We're playing in the state championship on Thursday. We are offering some fan buses, so community members can come in up until tomorrow to sign up to go on a fan bus. Tickets are all online, so you have to purchase those through, I can't think of the ticket agency, but there's information that was sent out from the high school yesterday, and you can go to our website to find information. And we are going to have a first responder escort out of town at 3:45 on Thursday. Mr. Poles, or Coach Poles, agreed to that, so we are gonna escort them out of town. They'll go down Sauk, Lodi Street, take a right on Main Street, and head out of town. We're gonna share more information about that, I think, tomorrow, so hopefully we'll have a lot of fans out there cheering them on as they're leaving town.
That should have went out this afternoon.
They went out this afternoon, great. And that is the high school. Thank you.
Thank you. Lots of stuff going on. Our curriculum.
It's a hard one to follow.
Not yet. Terry. Get in order here.
So the first item on here is artificial intelligence, and I know that seems to be everywhere you look in the news lately. And the curriculum committee of the board wanted to know about artificial intelligence and how it relates to public education. Mr. Potter did a wonderful job putting a presentation together highlighting just that point, and he used that presentation earlier in the school year with secondary staff, really highlighting things like helpful tools for teachers when it comes to artificial intelligence, data mining and privacy concerns, and spotting the use of AI. We are somewhat limited in some of the things that we can do with artificial intelligence on students' behalf because of some of the age requirements and some of the data mining things that are associated with it. We also recognize that as we move into the future, that some of those things may change, and right now it also can be a really useful tool for educators in a lot of ways. So the presentation that was presented for the curriculum committee of the board is linked there. They asked me to put that in my board report so that it was shared with the full board, so feel free to take a look at that. You can ask me some questions, but I also say the expert behind you over there, Mr. Tyler Potter, would have some great feedback on that specific aspect as well. 23 state assessment academic results. So you may recall that in my last board report, I gave you an overview and a general synopsis of those results. We dug into those results a little bit at a deeper level with the curriculum committee of the board after the embargo was lifted. And so the presentation that we went through with the curriculum committee of the board is also linked there for you to review. School accountability and the district accountability report cards will be released tomorrow publicly. So board, you will receive an email from me tomorrow that will have those reports as well as a general overview of those reports. I also will be putting that all on our school district webpage, and I will, as I have the past few years, putting a little synopsis video together that will also be available on our webpage. We also send that information out in I believe, a mailing to families as well. So I will present on that topic for the curriculum committee of the board, that being the school accountability report cards and the district accountability report cards, this Wednesday, because the embargo is lifted tomorrow, and then I will touch on it with the full board at their December meeting. Next, every PPG group in the district every teacher is part of a PPG group, and we have all had our second meetings. I help to run the Community Connection Business Partnership, PPG. It's really exciting. We continue to see growth in that area as we bring in new Community Connection classroom partnerships. And we continue to see a lot of those old partnerships now continue year after year. So that's a wonderful thing, and I just added a little photo there. I believe it was in the primary board report as well, but you can see this one of Lodi Utilities showing off to our kindergarten crew. There is a memo, I believe you had just approved it in the consent agenda. It was related to the Wisconsin Act 20 reading legislation component of the reading professional development requirement. This part of the board report just gives you a little bit of additional detail related to that specific training.
Thanks, Nick. All right, LCAT.
Okay. LCAT presented at the October Town of Lodi monthly meeting. An overview of LCAT was provided and consideration for future funding was requested. As a result of the meeting, a resource hub is now located at the Town of Lodi Town Hall. LCAT is always looking to find potential resource hub locations within the community. LCAT is now located on the Town of Lodi website under Community Resources. So those hubs have all the information about medications and illicit drugs, et cetera, and how to identify them. So that would be a hub. LCAT met with Lodi Mary Ann Groves Lloyd about a proposal for funding for LCAT from the city. This was done as a follow-up from May of 2022, when LCAT did a presentation with the City of Lodi's Public Safety Committee and asked to be considered for funding at that time. Drug Take Back Day occurred on October 28th at the Hometown Pharmacy in Lodi. This community event is held in partnership with the Lodi Hometown Pharmacy and the Lodi Police Department. Last year, approximately 20 pounds of unwanted medicine was turned in on Take Back Day. Community members can discard their unwanted medication year-round at the Lodi Police Department. The police department has a permanent medication drop-off box in their lobby. The LCAT trailer has been used for all home football games this fall. The trailer will be out with the football team until the end of this current season. The high school, cross-country, and soccer teams have also utilized the trailer this fall. The trailer was used in the month of October for a neighborhood block party which took place in Harmony Grove. Trailer use will close for the season on November 19th, 2023, and will resume again on May 4th, 2024. LCAT also partnered with Prevention and Response Columbia County to create a new theater ad at the symptoms of an opioid overdose. This ad will run at the Portage Movie Theater during the month of November. To view the ad, please go to LCAT's website or check it out at the movies. Go see Taylor Swift and see the...
Thank you. And last but definitely not least, our student representative, Caleb.
Thank you. So, Mamma Mia, after months of preparation and weeks of rehearsal, Mamma Mia opened over the weekend. Thank you, Troy. In the Lodi High School Performing Arts Center. On Thursday of last week, they welcomed the middle school student body, thank you, Mr. Perchborn, for a preview show that was very well received by our younger students. Saturday and Sunday, the musical officially opened to what was an electric crowd. Congratulations to the cast, crew, and orchestra for their amazing performances, and good luck this weekend. They will perform Friday night and close Saturday, both at 7 p.m. The Thailand Exchange. Earlier in October, Lodi High School was proud to welcome 14 visitors from our sister school in Thailand. 14 of our families from the high school opened their homes to these visitors, 11 students and 3 adults. In their 3-week trip, the Thais experienced Wisconsin culture through various field trips, including Cave of the Mountains, Sassy Cow Creamery, Epic Systems, Old Gardens, etc. I mean, what could be more Wisconsin than cheese and caves?
Cheese and caves. I love it.
Those 14 families that opened their homes, the high school administration team, the Board of Education, and the exchange program coordinators, Mr. Vicky Fossbender and Mrs. Casabarla. And finally, the National Honor Society induction ceremony. So last Sunday, the Lodi chapter of the NHS proudly inducted 19 new members into the academic chapter. In a formal ceremony, inductees were reminded of the high standards of the society and lit candles symbolizing their dedication to the organization. Members of the society meet the national standards and requirements of leadership, scholarship, service, and character. Congrats to those 19 people listed below.
Thank you very much, Caleb.
Caleb, in the future, can you put prepared by on your report? So that,
Pardon?
can you put your name on the report in the future? Thank you.
You should take
Yeah, you did really
Take credit
awesome.
for that.
Oh, man, yes.
That was
And
good.
that musical is so good, you guys, if you, the community, if you can go, it's so entertaining.
Are you still singing the songs?
I may go
Yes.
again.
And my husband even went, and he's not musical, and he was like, that was pretty good. All right, Vince, District Administrator.
Yes, so Veterans Day program, I want to thank Derek Pertzborn, Pete Franklin, Ashley Goldbergson, and Angela Roberts, and the rest of the middle school staff for hosting an inspirational Veterans Day program for our community. It was a great event to honor our veterans. Our students represented our district so well with their performances and their behavior throughout the program, and thanks to the middle school staff for their flexibility in representing our district with Lodi pride. I was going to talk about the musical. I don't think I need to. It was awesome. So please come out and check out the musical. It was great. Football team, again, congratulations to Coach Dave Poles and the Lodi football team for earning the right to play at state. Game on Thursday night at 7 p.m. There's been plenty of information sent out to our families, but for community members, look on the high school and district websites for more information about the game. I want to give a sincere thank you to Mr. Jelnick, Mr. Marshall, Ms. Mefford, Ms. Werderitz, and all the people who have been working to pull together information for a state game and getting information out to staff. Didn't know how much work it was to go to state, did you? It takes a lot of work getting all that information out. People want to know right away. It's just a yeoman's effort. So you get a box the night you win the game, and you got to go through it all and figure it out. Thanks to Jen Morgan for translating all that information, so all of our families have the opportunity to see that information. So I just really appreciate all the extra effort because, their other work doesn't stop, right? This is just additional. It's fun, it's good work, and there's a lot of positives to it, but it just comes on top of everything else that's going on this time of year. And again, thanks to Coach Poles and his entire staff, right? This is 5 extra weeks of football, which is awesome, but it's 5 extra weeks of work away from their families and nights and weekends, and it's a lot of time and energy, so we really appreciate everything they have done for our community, so thank you. Our board community linkage presentation is December 4th with our community at the high school at 6 p.m. We'll start our evening out with some conversations and snacks from Tahert, our food service representative. And then the presentations will start at 6:30 with a quick overview, splitting up community members and who will rotate between 3 different presentations on strategic plan, the 2022 referendum, and green space planning. People who attend will be able to give feedback on all those different areas to board members, and all that information will be taken down by somebody at each of those stations and shared with the entire board. At the end of the meeting tonight, we'll talk about, we're supposed to also have 2 of these linkage sessions with our staff. One is tomorrow night at the primary school with our primary and elementary school staff. And then we were supposed to have one on Thursday. My suggestion is Thursday we postpone that because there's a little football game going on. So I don't know who would all show up to that presentation. Plus we have some board members whose children are participating in different ways, either on the team or the cheer squad or with the band or all those different things. So we'll talk about it at the end of the meeting. And finally, I guess 2 more things. One, just knowing that upcoming concert dates, it's hard to think about that, but with Thanksgiving coming up here in a week and a half, we will be thinking about concert dates. So our 4K concerts in December 7th, elementary OSC concerts December 8th, high school concerts December 14th, primary school concert December 15th, and middle school December 19th. And then just with Thanksgiving coming up, the district office will be closed next Tuesday at the end of the school day, and reopen Monday morning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vince. All right, board president report. I apologize for talking about a few things that have been mentioned tonight, but first of all, I'd like to thank the Lodi Middle School for putting on a wonderful Veterans Day program. I would encourage all community members to attend our district's Veterans Day program every year if you are able. It's just a great reminder of the amazing people that our country is so lucky to have. We as a country are eternally grateful to our veterans, and it's just a great reminder of the sacrifices not only of the veterans themselves, but of their families that make sacrifices too. I am in complete awe and admiration for all veterans and their families, and only wish there was a way to pay you back for your sacrifices. It sure is a great time to be a Lodian. Our high school varsity football team is going to state. It's so exciting, and I'm sure most will agree with me on how proud our community is for all the hard work and dedication the team has shown to get to this point. No matter what happens on Thursday, the entire team has made history, and our community will be proud of you. Another amazing highlight of our school district this week is the musical Mamma Mia. The talent that is on that stage is so incredible. I only hope that everyone involved in the musical knows how enjoyable of a show they put on and how proud they make our community. It takes a lot of guts to get on that stage in front of everyone, and we admire all of you for it. I've always respected our community for how much we all support each other and how the saying, "It takes a village," really applies to our community. Being on the board and seeing more of the operations of our district and events like the musical and one of our sports teams making it so far in the season only reminds me more of how many people it takes for success. No one can realize all the people that make things in this community and district happen until you are directly involved. So as you are watching the leads in the musical, the starters of our football team, or even the board president run a meeting, please always remember that all of the front runners have so much support behind them. Obviously, the coaches, directors, administration are key components of the examples that I listed. But also remember the stage crew and chorus members, the non-starting football players that don't get to step foot on the field during the games, yet go to practice every night, and all the school staff that might not get mentioned as much as they should. Those people are the ones that are putting in the same, if not more time than all the front runners without getting as much recognition as they should. So just remember as you go into that theater, the football stadium, or the classroom, it takes a village, and none of our district's success would happen if we didn't all work together, be supportive of everyone's efforts, and acknowledge each other. These 3 examples in our district are only a few compared to all the things that our district and community has to offer. So please get involved in whatever you can, appreciate everyone's time and efforts, and just continue to be proud of our community. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and I would just like to express my sincere gratitude to the community for giving me the opportunity to be on this board. I am so passionate about it, and I truly am so honored and appreciative to be part of it. Thank you so much. All right, now we are going to go on to my computer just locked up. CTE PAC space evaluation discussion.
So as part of the November 1st Facility and Finance Committee meeting, the committee discussed a proposal for conducting a space analysis of our career and technical education space in the district and the Performing Arts Center at the high school. The impetus behind conducting a space analysis of our career and technical education spaces is driven by the district's strategic plan and strategic planning process in which the community emphasized their desire to see a renewed focus in our CTE opportunities for our students. As opportunities for career and technical education fields are ever changing, the district has continued to work to update the curriculum to ensure that it is relevant for our students and works to prepare them for the future. At times, like other programs throughout the district, what can be offered is based on the district's current spaces these programs operate. Focus on reviewing the space in the CTE area has been incorporated in the district's balanced scorecard that the board has approved the last 2 years. The district has leveraged ESSER 3 funds this last couple years, which were budgeted based on the priorities identified through the strategic planning process to replace a significant amount of equipment in the CTE area. The Facility and Finance Committee had also had discussions around the Performing Arts Center space at the high school and ensuring that the district is doing its due diligence in maintaining and updating that facility that is used by nearly all of our student body in the community. As I mentioned with all the concerts that are coming up, right? The district currently relies on significant support from our community members and their professional ties to ensure that this facility allows our students to showcase their talent. For these reasons, the proposal also includes conducting an analysis of the Performing Arts Center. So the administration suggested that the district engage with PRA architects to facilitate the space analysis process. PRA suggested that they tour the CT and PAC spaces with the employees who teach, interact, and work in these facilities, interview with those staff members to get an understanding of the spaces, help facilitate a tour of the spaces in school districts of similar size, and make suggestions how to improve and enhance the spaces that we have, both within the existing footprint and if the district would look to expand that footprint. The Facility and Finance Committee unanimously moved this item to the full board without a recommendation. They did ask to hear from representatives from the CTE department and Fine Arts department about these spaces. So we have representatives from both groups here to share information and answer any questions board members may have. So maybe we'll start with the Performing Arts Center. Since I know a couple of them are on a timeline tonight.
Yeah, so,
Thank you.
I brought with me a couple of people, so I'll let them introduce themselves, and then I'll dive in first.
Hi, I'm Erica Bardwell.
Hi, I'm Troy Hatley. I do lighting design for the fall musical and also the spring play. So,
I'm Heather Hatley. I am the stage manager officially for the Mamma Mia show, but I also help build set, work on pulling props, as you'll see from the room. That's quite a life safety adventure. And bring all the elements that technical theater needs to bring together in order to put on our performances, as well as working with our students.
And I'm Jason Marshall. I'm the Associate Principal and Auditorium Director. So, I started with this picture of our current cast and crew because I think it's really easy to walk into a space and you see this beautiful performing arts center and you see this wonderful production. And really everything that we're going to talk about from here on out are things that you never see, right? It's the infrastructure of the space, it's what's happening behind the scenes that you never see from the audience. And the wear and tear that after almost 25 years, a space has become outdated and isn't quite functioning the way that we would hope. If you have been on the board for a while, as we prepped for the last referendum, one of the things that I led many of these individuals through and other users of the Performing Arts Center, we went through and we really looked at a short-term and a long-term needs list. That's linked at the end of this presentation. I will say a caveat is all that pricing is pre-COVID pricing. But so this conversation has been a little bit ongoing with this group for some time. Out of that, there are definitely some upgrades that you've seen to the space. So in the past, I would say 5-ish years, we have new acoustical shells that improve the acoustics of the space for our band and choirs and for our elementary and primary school students. Those are the white sort of things that you see on that first photo. We went through part of an audio upgrade. There's still some work to be done, but new speakers. The architectural lighting system, which, so when you walk into the space, you can push a button and it will be programmed to bring on certain lights. That program was updated about 1.5 years ago. To put it into context, up until that point, that program was still running off of a floppy disk. We have a new light board, new curtains. You just earlier in this meeting approved new spotlights. That second photo shows our brand new spotlight, and the spotlight on the right was the better of the 2 existing spotlights. Right, so we just have, we have things in the space that are still functioning, but clearly not at a level of something that's new or something that's gonna be upgraded. And during COVID, we went through and now have live stream capabilities within that space as well.
Jason, can I clarify on that?
Yeah.
So we got new curtains, but
Yes.
they're orange.
Yes.
And they were donated.
Yes.
Which is,
So-
thank you very much.
So there are things on this that we have gotten, Troy and Heather are great examples, so both of them professionally work for ETC, and we've partnered with them on a number of projects within that space. Stephen Ricks, who was a board member, has some, also works at ETC and has some connections, so he was able to get that new front curtain for us. The caveat was that we didn't have as many color choices. Right, so we've sort of tried to update the space as much as we could within the budgetary constraints that exist. So I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on this slide, but really, when you start to think about the Performing Arts Center, there are 2 different buckets of areas of concern, right? There's the general space concern of knowing that we have a stage that can fit hundreds of kids, but the back side of the stage doesn't necessarily support that when you do a musical production or things like that. Our storage spaces are at or beyond capacity. Some of the like nuts and bolts space concerns that we have. And then on the right is really a list of technology and infrastructure concerns within the space, things that are reaching the end of their projected usable life. We find each year more and more things that just start to creak and groan and outlets that don't work and things that are sort of out there and are a bigger issue waiting to happen unless they're proactively addressed. And Troy will speak a little bit to those technical components. So I'm gonna let Erica talk a little bit about when the musical's happening on stage, some of the issues that are happening backstage and some of the things that you may not see or be aware of.
Sure. Jason just asked me, Mr. Marshall, asked me to just give you an idea of what it looks like from my perspective. So for this show, I have 40 kids on stage, which is about average for a show. I've had up to 58 kids on stage and down to 32. This is average, a little lower post-COVID, but we're getting there. The top space is the green room. That is the room the kids are slotted to get ready in. If you look at the photo to your left, that is my men's dressing room in the green room. So I can fit six young men in there to practice. The photo to your right is the practice room next to Miss McCrae's office. So it takes 42 seconds to run from the stage to the, right? Like, so these kids are like running down the hall. If you want to go to the next slide. On the right is the 6 girls that I can fit in the dressing room. And then that room on the left is the large music storage room off the band room that Mr. Hafe dutifully cleans out for us. So we're making it work. No one's saying we're not making it work. We absolutely are. Here is what I would note for you. I am one human backstage. I'm one person. Because these people are all front of the house people. So during a show, when I'm trying to find a kid, the kids are, right? And they're good kids, right? But they are largely not all in the same place. They are largely unsupervised backstage, which they do a great job and they're responsible and we're making the rounds.
It's not like you can yell during a show either, so.
But it is something that's happening. So we have a space that fits lots of kids and no space to put them when they're backstage.
And no way to communicate to all of them at once.
No way to get to them. Does that cover mine? The next thing is, we do a great job of, we want to save money. We don't want to spend unnecessary money. And lots of props are used in lots of different shows, but there's only so much that we can keep before we have a safety hazard. So Miss Hatley climbs up and then she hands things to me and then, because I don't send kids in that room. Right? Like we go in the room and then we, do what we're supposed to do, get what we're supposed to get. And this is post day of service cleaning it out, just so we're all aware. So we took everything out. We got rid of what we thought we could get rid of, kept what we thought would cost us a lot of money to replace or things that we couldn't find again. And then this is what our current current as of today, if you walk in the prop room, this is what it looks like today.
Your worst hoarder's nightmare.
But we don't want to spend the extra money for the district every time we do a show. We don't want to buy a couch every time or new luggage every time. This is our scene shop. We do our best to build out of there, though it is not a safe place to teach students to build at this time. So I am in the education business, right? Like I want to teach kids all parts of what we're doing. I want them in building, I want them in painting, but we don't right now have the space that makes me feel safe having many, many kids in there. Is there any more that you want me to say?
No, I would also say as part of this, there's a shed behind the PAC that is storing lumber right now that is slowly listing. But, right, we're
making it work.
We're running out of space to put things that, right, we don't want to rebuy lumber every year and we try to reuse everything that we can. I can speak to the space, right, as we've upgraded things like sound shells and right, there's just other space that we've run out of. So I've poached a little bit of the lunch table storage room that now has some risers in it, but space is really at a premium down in that wing of the building. Equally so, our costume room, right, I think we have a really nice collection of things, and we do our best to keep it organized and purged, but that is about at capacity for what we can have for the space. But again, how many costumes do you have this year?
184 are going to be put in there.
Right, so it just is a space that we're looking to store a lot of things and we're running low on space. So that's sort of bucket one. I'm going to turn it over to Troy, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the technology that is outdated within that space.
Sure, so on the right is a picture of this year's lighting rig, right? There's 1, 2, 3 pipes. We hang lights on pipes come in with winches, cables, et cetera, right? That's how the system works. That's the magical things you don't see from the audience, right? Over the stage in those pipes are all borrowed fixtures, right? ETC loans out Lodi High School, those fixtures. It's about $149,000 worth of fixtures are on loan. There's 48 fixtures in one console. Those are Broadway level fixtures. My company does Broadway level shows, right? So there's some pretty cool stuff we're bringing in to facilitate these shows, right? We wouldn't necessarily need that for Lodi High School on a long-term basis, but it's a great opportunity for us to show these kids what a production can look like on a Broadway level in terms of that kind of technology, right? Everyone remembers around 2010, LED light bulbs came out, right? Everybody got LED light bulbs in their house. Before that, you had incandescent light bulbs. You burned the filament, right? Lodi High School actually is set up to burn filaments. It's an incandescent space, right? The technology has come and gone in 2010. We've all seen it. It's at Home Depot, it's at Menards, et cetera, but it's also in my business. It was actually revolutionary at ETC around 2010, 2015. We switched our entire business from incandescent, burning filaments, 1,000-watt light bulbs, down to LED fixtures, a more modern, electronic controlled fixture. All those fixtures in that picture are all electronic fixtures, or digital fixtures, we often call those things, right? That revolution lets the lighting designer, the role I partake in, have one fixture to the job of what 3 fixtures used to do. You used to have to have a red fixture, a green fixture, and a blue fixture to make all the colors of light that you see. We've seen one of our shows recently. The thing that RGB digital fixtures allow us to do is create those colors on the fly. It's been a huge revolution in this industry, right? So it's been fantastic to bring that to Lodi High School and give our kids that kind of exposure. Just some quick statistics, right? They tend to weigh 3 times as much. They also consume about 1/4 of the power. As I mentioned, I can use almost a third of the fixtures I would have used. Front of house and Lodi PAC today are about 20 of those incandescent fixtures are part of the Lodi High School's Performing Arts Center inventory. I replace those with 4 LED fixtures, 20 down to 4. So there's power savings. You're not saving a ton of money. The meters on that side of the building are spinning a little slower, not tons of money being saved. But 15,000 watts, 2,000 watts is a great power savings. One of the things that Jason mentioned too is sort of the age of the facility. The facility was built 25 years ago. The dimming system is being run by a 25-year-old computer. Who's got a 25-year-old computer in their house anywhere? Have you ever had a 25-year-old car? I know I've had one of those, right? And in February, what happens, you walk out in February, you turn that key, and it's kind of like, come on, babe, come on, please, right? And so sometimes I'll walk into the space and click the button and say, oh, come on, please, right? So it's out of date. The ETC can still do some minor repairs on things. We've managed to sort of make do and get by. Being able to actually borrow this equipment's been fantastic for us to keep the facility going since 2016, Beauty and the Beast, give or take, right? Yeah. Another thing we mentioned with the winches, the pipes that those lights are hanging on. They are just winches with cables on them. They are from 1995 technology, kind of time frames, almost 30 years old. They're missing a lot of modern safety features. Modern systems have e-stops. They also have stall detection. Like right now, pipe's flying in, hits somebody, hits some senior, but keeps on going, right? Thousands of pounds being loaded on something. So there's a safety concern there for sure. I mean, in 1998, that was a valid system. In 2023, you could not install that system in this space, right? So there's an opportunity for upgrading those kind of things in the future for sure, for technological footprint.
Troy,
Yep.
I have a question. What's that top left picture of?
Reminds
me of piano.
Not the picture.
Cabling system for.
Yeah, that's actually the cabling those are the winches.
Okay.
And the cables coming out that will lower or raise those pipes. Before every show, we bring the pipes down, dust off fixtures, change up their light bulbs, their lamps, bring them back up. 3 years ago, I brought in the number 2 electric down to this lowest position, and it stayed there for 6 hours. Me and a co-worker up on a lift, taking off panels, finally found the limit switch and got it back up and running again. But we're one moment away like that for a show perspective, of calling up Eric and going, yeah, not tonight, right? But that's, it's like, that 25-year-old car is a great analogy, right? There are times a 25-year-old car that didn't start for you. You needed a new battery. Battery was easier to replace, right? We can all kind of do that kind of thing. Windshield wipers are easier to replace. When the engine goes out, that's tougher, right? When the tires are a little worn, you can replace the tires, but the engine, the drivetrains, those are the kind of things that we really can't supplement these days. And we're doing a lot with batteries and making things work and making do with spaces, but those are kind of things that we're looking to try and change out, right?
I have a question on all of that. So, you said, what was it, 1998, that all went in?
1998, yeah.
Or 98?
For the building was basically, yeah.
Is that up to safety code? If somebody were to come in and inspect that, what is the reality of?
It was inspected a couple of years ago.
Okay.
There are components that for sure would not be put in a school today. We had a conversation prior to coming in here In a couple slides, I'll talk about the pit cover. There are schools that are having to make some modifications to their pit covers to maintain compliance or maintain their insurance. Because, right, I have a 16-foot pit at the front of the stage. That's a liability, right? So I think there are certainly safety systems that aren't in place. It impacts us twofold. One, right, it's that I lower something and it's the kindergarten concert that night, and now I'm calling up Amy and saying, we gotta scramble. I think the safety component, we don't let kids work on a lot of this stuff, but we also have had a number of students who have gone on and done summer internships at ETC, who are now working at ETC, who could benefit on working on this sort of system, that we don't allow them to do it because the safety isn't there, and right, I feel comfortable with myself running the winch system or these adults, but I would never put a kid on it at this point in time.
Is there somebody that comes in, so you said somebody inspected it, I mean, so I guess I'm just thinking of, you know, I don't know who it is that would inspect, but like an OSHA or,
Yep.
you know, what's
Yep.
the district's liability then, and with insurance and all of that?
We
If
had
things
a-
aren't up to code.
Yeah, we had right, just like the rest of the school, that space gets walked through. We had a theater company come out and specifically look at that point, we had curtains that, to be flame retardant, needed to be sprayed down, so we wanted to make sure that was current. And then looked specifically at those systems. Again, we've had some failures within that system since that happened, not to the point where there would be, right, I'm not gonna have one of those come crashing down, but, right, I think that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Because
No, I'm just throwing it out there and, you know.
Yes, we mentioned that on the left are the dimmer racks, that's a 25-year-old, you know, automobile in the parking lot, right, so. You know, for me, a moment of pride, my company's made that technology since 1997, still working, that's kind of cool. But it is also a legacy piece of technology for us. We're on our third generation of that rack, we were looking at our first generation, right, so definitely some improvements to be had. Power efficiencies to be had, et cetera, right, but that's that 25-year-old.
And technology that will support the new light technology. It's important to have those things more in sync than we are right now.
And one of the things that, when we talked about potential upgrades to the space, all those systems are interconnected, right? So if I start putting in LED fixtures, I have to start making some changes to that dimmer rack. As I load on more LED fixtures, now my weight on those winches is bigger than it is on an old incandescent. So there's sort of this interplay of different parts. The other component, which hopefully is something that we're gonna address, is our stage is starting to splinter. So another safety concern, after the musical is done, I sand it down the best I can and repaint over things and tape over things so that it's safe, but it's had a lot of shows go through that space.
The two-story buildings that you see are screwed into the floor. Like, we have to put children up there, so we're drilling hole, which that's what it's made for, but it's getting past that useful life.
Did I gloss over anything?
No, that's all I'm trying.
So also just to speak to our sound system, right, we put some money in, all of the new sound system at the stadium and in our gym are all digital systems. We're partially digital, so the picture on the right is us sort of tying the two systems together. The soundboard that actually Caleb runs doesn't belong to us. We have that on loan from somebody who helps us sort of engineer all of that. But a lot of the technology, similar to lighting, we're running off of borrowed technology. If you were at the show on Sunday, there was one moment where there was this massive ring of feedback, and then it went away. And right to the audience, you think that was a blip. I was sitting back by the soundboard, it was pandemonium, because what happened is that board that doesn't belong to us completely powered off and then recycled. So at intermission, one of the conversations we were having was, so if our soundboard goes down, how do we do the rest of the show without any microphones?
Yep, that's what I did at intermission.
So, right, it's just nerve-wracking and certainly, right, any system can fail. We're just trying to be proactive about, not setting us up to be in that position. Lastly, the space is 25 years old. You start to see some wear and tear on seats. The picture on the right is our current pit cover. So if you walk in the space now, that is all off, and down there is where the pit sits. That is a system that would not go into school today. So to make safer systems, some systems that would allow some storage down there, but ultimately, we have a lot of children that we put on that PIC cover every year. And each year, there are less and less components of it that work the way they should, right? And so, every year, Miss McCray and I roll the grand piano, and one leg of it has to go on the PIC cover, and we just sort of, right? It's a little bit nerve-wracking to put a $25,000 piano on something that you think is gonna hold. So, that's a lot of technical information, a lot of this is stuff that you would never see. That needs list is attached, and is still really reflective of our most critical needs within that space, but I also wanted to open it up to any questions that you all have, about the current space or things that we feel like could be updated.
So can we get, because we've been doing these phenomenal musicals through our association with ETC and the people who would love our community, who live here, can we get a report on how much is donated by ETC every year?
Donate, like actually given to the facility?
Well, given and then time and effort and all that stuff that comes straight from ETC. There's a dollar value
I
associated
mean,
with that.
there's a team of 12 who comes in and hangs our like.
That's what I mean. And we're not
Sure.
seeing that cost because ETC is donating that.
Sure.
And to be
So-
fair, we're using it as a training opportunity, right? We
No,
use a-
I
PAC as a
completely
training
get that.
opportunity
What I'm
for
saying
our
is we
individuals.
need to see that cost every year.
It's right here
The
right now.
musical costs money
I can
and we
put
need
that
to see
together.
that thing. Yeah, it's the amount of enjoyment that this community has gained from the association with ETC is just out of this world.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On your immediate needs list here, did we just get the spotlights?
We did.
Did.
And they, all of it, but there was two, right?
Yep, and the second one came in, so actually sort of cool, right, we have ETC, but we have other great theater companies in the Madison area, and so the national sales rep for the company that we bought it through lives in Lodi. And so he got on the phone with that company and said, hey, this is the timeline that they're looking at, and that was ready to go for the middle school production. So, we're like incredibly blessed with ETC and people that volunteer their time, but also people that care about this community and these kids that helped.
How thick is that decking?
It's fairly thick. I mean, my concern isn't the decking, my concern is all of the under,
Right.
or are you talking about like the wood?
No, the actual wood decking that's on top of the
I think
stage.
it's-
I mean,
It's
you just,
typically 3/4 plywood on top of a substructure. It's
how
actually-
thick is the
Like
substructure?
a wall has been turned sideways, usually 2x4 construction scale.
And ours is on concrete, so there are some facilities that all of that is open for storage.
So what,
Ours is,
so nothing's underneath there that
Nope.
somebody's gonna fall
Nope.
through that decking?
nope,
Okay, that's what I was thinking of when.
Oh.
You know,
No,
when
no
things
one
are-
will fall through the
Okay,
decking.
no, because I'm thinking, you know, things are getting screwed in it, I mean, that's, you know,
Yep.
wear and tear and splinting and making it weak.
yep,
I just assumed, like the pit, there was something underneath
Yep.
the stage, so nothing underneath the stage, okay.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, trap doors, oh.
Make some space.
So I have, and sounds like you guys might have to leave soon.
I'm okay. I'm good.
So obviously, because I want to still hear from the career and technology, but I just want to get your guys' opinions on, so this PRA, they have not come in and done anything. So this whole thing is you guys giving us all this info. Am I mistaken where it says what they're gonna cover for that cost? I feel like they've already done some of that.
So some of the pieces, we're talking both, we'll have to talk to CTE as well,
I know,
right?
that's why I just wanted to
They have many biggest spaces, but looking at like what options we have, right? So some of the things, yes, they've talked about and they will rely on their expertise, but like when you start talking about storage and things of that nature, like what are our options within our footprint? How could we make what we have better? And you really need an architect
Architecture
to help
and
you do
engineering,
that. Right, that's where we're
Different
looking
kind.
at having somebody like the architect come in and do that.
Well, there's a reason that it moved to the board without a recommendation, and it's because at the committee level, we disagreed. So that's why it's here now without a recommendation, 3-0. So the question that I would have for the six of you is, I appreciate the insights, I appreciate the presentation, I appreciate all that, the information that you've provided for us, but what we really, as a board, need to answer tonight is do we engage this independent architectural company to come in and do this study at a cost of between $15,000 and $18,000, Or do the six of you have insights for us that this $15,000 to $18,000 could be better spent addressing some of these issues that you bring up as opposed to spending it on an architectural company?
That's kind of where I'm coming from.
So that's what I want to get, as long as you guys are here, because I didn't necessarily request you guys to come to give us a presentation, but I'm happy that you're here and that you did. What are your thoughts? Because as you can tell, some of us on the board have slight
But I
disagreement
don't
on
want,
the
the-
money.
I mean, I know that's important, like what you're saying, but I also feel like we have so much knowledge right here, and I don't want that money getting.
engineers.
Well, I get that, but on here, they're saying, they're not even saying that, they're saying that they are gonna basically do what they're just doing. Go
they're gonna
interview
use what they're
other
doing.
schools, where I don't know where it is. I feel like half the stuff that they're saying isn't even the architect part.
I asked them a question and haven't been allowed to give me their
Oh, sorry, I
thoughts.
was just
So-
elaborating on that, because it's same, it's similar questions, so I just wanted to.
It is, we're kind of thinking the same
Yeah.
thing, so I just, again, from the six of you, I know that you guys have another, something you wanna share with us, but.
I echo what Adam says, I'm not really an architect, right? I definitely talk about lighting and electronics, those kind of things, right? But is it reasonable to take the space, knock out the back wall and get us a bigger green room and a bigger storage space for props and a bigger scene shop? I can't really answer that question, and the complexities and costs of that are unknown to me, for sure.
Well, I also think that when we talk about things like our winch system, our hoists, that is a structurally critical thing. I can't say what the system of ETC rigging, for instance, might require structurally. ETC hires structural engineers to go into a facility and say, this is what this space requires to hang this stuff.
If the
That's what they're
district is
educated
getting,
for, so
if the district is getting bids to actually do this work, wouldn't that be part of that
it
process?
can be, and it can be separate then. We have seen that go both ways. So
I
it,
just
a
don't
lot
want
of
money
it depends
getting
on
taken away from you
who's
guys. I want
requesting
this
the
stuff
work.
done, and I just don't want it.
Again, really what it boils down to tonight is, do we spend this $15,000 to $18,000 on an architectural company, or do we look as a board to spend it more directly on some of the things you're bringing to our attention? That's what we have to answer. We don't have to answer tonight, does the PAC need all of this work? We know that. The mounts that are up there are staggering.
And they're
And
not
it's
even correct.
You know, that's not within our, it's not within our abilities to do all of that.
Which
But
I feel
what we
is-
need to answer tonight is.
That's exactly what we're trying to answer, though. We need a plan to move
So I
forward
think,
on.
I think I can better answer that question after they present. Because I think architecturally, right, like, that's why we have two buckets.
Yeah.
It would be great to have a bigger green room, we're making do. I have some supervision and safety concerns about the green room, but ultimately, like, that's not hindering our ability to put on a show. A potential, right, so the technical components from the PAC lens, I think that we could probably, if push came to shove, do without an architect. Having talked to some of the CT crew about like the limitations of their space, I think that's where, right, I
You don't
think,
have to answer for them.
Yeah.
You just answer
Yeah.
for yourself, and
I think that
heard
we
the
will
answer.
end up with a better product if we engage somebody who's gonna have that
But we
that
as a
expertise.
board have to determine where the money gets spent, where is the best place to spend the money for the district. So that's what we're doing. We're just, we're just discussing and we'll come to a decision.
Yep.
That's why I asked the question the way I did.
I think the tough part is everybody up here really cares about the space and brings some level of expertise, but nobody has that overarching expertise, right? Nobody's designing PACs for schools that they can go, yeah, this is how you need to do this, this, and this, and it's gonna be safe, and I can get a kid out there. We can look at the systems and say, this makes sense to me. I think that's, right, that, to me, it just adds an extra level of, right, we're talking about $15,000 to $20,000 now for a lot of money that we're spending, and we wanna make sure that we're spending that larger sum in a responsible and cost-effective manner.
Mr. Marshall, are those seats in the PAC getting cleaned ever? Have they ever been cleaned in the 25 years?
Great question. I don't know that answer.
I mean, I'm just, you know, our carpets are cleaned, right?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
so are the our cloth
I don't
seats
know.
being cleaned?
I don't know. So I can get
I'm
that
just
answer,
looking at that from a infection control.
though. Totally.
You know, Scott, I appreciate Scott's question in terms of the where to spend the dollars, right? Think about Sarah's question earlier about safety. That's definitely a question that we can't answer, any of us, I don't think. And that's where you get people like a consulting firm that can give you real, honest, legally backed opinions. It's a hard question, Scott. I definitely appreciate the question.
Yeah.
There's only so much money, right?
$15,000 is a lot of money, right? I could go do a lot with lighting, $15,000. Yeah, sort of God bless you guys for making a decision.
And I think that there's some.
Thank you for your work.
The way I see it is I just didn't want us to pay a firm that is maybe not doing as much as I feel they should. I'm not saying they're not or whatever, but that's just my question, because I would rather see that money go towards all of this, you know?
The other part of the equation in engaging the company is you're engaging them to give you information, but you're not, and you're getting that information, but you're not necessarily doing anything with that information right now. So that came up at our committee meeting. Do you spend that money now?
Yeah.
Or do you wait until you're in a position where you can actually do something more with the information you get?
Yeah.
Right, but we have
It's just a counterpoint
We have a
to
green
Adam's point.
space plan that we spent a lot of money on, similar kind of thing. And we are trying to implement that over time. Do we have the money to implement that? No, we don't.
And
Right, but we have a
we're not
plan to
saying-
move forward on.
Yeah, I know. I just didn't want you thinking that we're saying we don't wanna fix this stuff or give money. Like, in my opinion,
Right, I'm
I
just saying you
want to.
can't fix it. You can't without the plan. You cannot fix it
I
without the
see
plan.
what you're saying,
Well,
but
we
I wanna
got-
make
we
sure
bought
that we're going
spotlights
with,
without a
I wanna
plan.
make sure that we're
Right?
saving
There are
money
things
on the
that you
plan
can
too.
do. I don't disagree with you,
Right, we can
Anna,
plant grass
okay?
on a field without a
I don't disagree,
plan, too.
I'm just bringing another point to it.
I think there's a difference between like commodity replacement, like a spotlight, where we can go in, and we have enough expertise to make a recommendation that is supportable. But then there are things like winch replacement that we may not have enough expertise, or pit replacement, we may not have that expertise to say, this is what the safe and proper choice is
And I think
for
we
the
wanna be
building. So there are
fiscally
two different layers.
responsible with the dollars, you know, I mean.
Well,
So,
there's a lot of money on this little spreadsheet, like.
From 2021.
Right, and when, you know, it seems to me that some of these needs are fairly concrete, is kind of what you're saying, like things that can be purchased, can be put in place. Some of the needs, and we haven't talked about the CTE, the other maybe more structural, like do we need to make an addition onto a building? Are we talking about preparing for a referendum by making sure we have all the information that we need prior to the big project of now we need a $5 million referendum, just throwing out large numbers. So it may be that for the PAC, this PRA is not as important, but I get the feeling that if we might be talking about, I see the word like roofing might change, so we may be talking about something that would definitely need this architectural consultation on. So I think I think it can be true that we've got two situations where the PAC plan can be vastly constructed by the expertise we have, but I don't know about the other part.
So I think we need to hear from the CT.
I was
first.
just gonna say, is any more questions for the,
Yeah.
thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
My name's Connor Anderson. I'm the ag teacher at the high school here at Lodi.
And I'm Sue Ziegler, I'm the business ed teacher here. Jamie was unable to come tonight, so we're gonna cover his area too for you.
As best we can.
Yes.
So we're gonna kind of look through the Lodi CTE facilities, as well as what we did is, in the last week and a half, we've reached out to area schools that have some really cool facilities that we've seen going through, and would kind of maybe be part of this process of joining with the architect to go look at some of these things that are ideas for what we could do possibly with our space. So what does CTE mean in Lodi? We have agriculture, which is represented by me at the high school. We also have FFA over at the middle school with Ms. Howe teaching a 6th grade exploratory ag class. We have business at the high school, and then we have tech ed at both the high school and the middle school. So that's kind of where we're talking. So we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna go through a kind of a space comparison. So we have a lot of pictures for us, comparing things that are in other schools to what we have, and what are some kind of things that, needs that we see and ways that other schools have kind of tackled this. So we'll start off with Jamie's area in the tech ed, and the pictures on the left is from Austin's kind of newly developed shop space, and then Jamie's got the pictures of his welding area. I think the pictures kind of speak for themselves of which, you know, might look more exciting or even more user-friendly. He's got some very small welding booths in Lodi, and I think the bigger part is that, you know, in the upcoming pictures, you'll see that this is, Jamie has a one big shop that includes all the welding and machinery kind of stuff that includes combustion and heat and fire in the same space that he has the woods. So that's a concern. And so here is some of the Fab Lab space that he's gotten. So in the recent years, he's gotten a lot of grants, and we put a lot of resources into getting some really cool equipment into our Fab Lab. And have done our best to kind of put it and integrate it into the current classroom space that he had. And they do an awesome job of producing some really cool products. Please check out their holiday sale and purchase stuff from them. And then you see some pictures over on the left from Austin, and they have kind of their own separate rooms for this Fab Lab equipment. Not only for, you know, I would say like the health of those machines, but also for a noise concern. The Fab Lab equipment that he has is in his classroom that he runs all of his classes in. So he's got 24, 26 students in his classroom. He's got 6 machines running. It's hard to kind of teach over that. It's one concern with that. And then here here's where we're kind of talking about as big shops spaces here. So on the pictures on the left are from Wisconsin Dells, which have just these huge, huge tech ed spaces. And then our pictures on the right are Lodi's, and you can kind of see the equipment to where kids are working there on the woods projects is right in front, and then all the way in the back of the upper photo that's where those welding booths are. So in the stuff in the foreground is where the woods equipment is, and then the stuff in the back is where the metals is. Again, not good to put combustion and wood in the same area. And then kind of finishing off on some of his points that he really wants the current space does not have those defined locations to help identify what each section of what he does encapsulates, and that really is a safety concern first and foremost. And then also from a supervision standpoint, we've got a lot of concrete walls, and we'll kind of talk about that throughout my space as well. We've got a lot of concrete walls that you can't see through, and a lot of different areas and rooms to kind of that we have students in, we want them to be working in. And we want them to be working in a couple of areas at the same time. As one teacher, you cannot properly supervise that. And especially in Jamie's thing, from a supervision standpoint, then when you can't supervise, that becomes a very big safety concern, on top of, you know, the fire. So. We'll move to the agriculture side of things, which I'm a little bit more comfortable talking about.
You did a great job on the other.
So just the classroom itself, here are a couple of pictures from newly renovated areas in both Mauston and the Dells. So Mauston's kind of that bottom left-hand pictures, and then the Dells are up in the upper right-hand. And one of the things that you see is just windows. At Ag, we like to see the outside. Currently, I don't get to see the outside. And the next pictures are from Sauk, and they kind of went through their renovation several years ago on the Ag side of things. Of course, they've gone through another renovation right now, but years ago they converted the Ag shop to their new classroom. And that's one of the things that I've been kicking around a lot. We've got this Ag shop, and that might have made a lot of sense 25 years ago. It doesn't make a ton of sense now. We underutilize that large space because we don't have an Ag power class. It's not in the curriculum. We don't really teach that here. Jamie does a great side of things with engines and things like that. So we don't really have to. So that shop space is underutilized. This is one way to go to convert that into some different classroom areas that would be better utilized for students. So he's got a really cool area there. This is currently what we have. It's a very small classroom. It's probably, if you take this divider, it's about the size of this half of that.
Is there only one classroom for Ag?
There's one classroom, and then we have a little side room, we'll see in a little bit, and then the big shop. So we can utilize that shop space for kind of breakout space, but again, if you see that the concrete walls there, again, I can't see through those concrete walls if I want to be having some students in the classroom and some breaking out into the shop area. I can't supervise both groups at the same time. One of the up-and-coming things with agriculture, and most ag departments in the state are working with this, is aquaculture or aquaponics. Aquaculture is just the fish. Aquaponics is combining fish and plants. And so the purple lighted one is an aquaponic system, so combining fish and plants together, and that's why there are purple lights to help the plants grow on the inside. That is in Mauston. And in the middle picture you have Nathaniel explaining his system of aquaponics at the Dells. That is on an additional classroom that you can see through his regular classroom space because of a glass wall, a see-through wall. And then his students up there working with the fish as well. Down on the bottom is a picture of the Sauk Prairie aquaculture system, so they just have fish in there. And then on the bottom left you can see ours, which is not up and running yet because we don't really have the space to do that. I prioritize the other stuff in the greenhouse. I used to think that I could fit it in my nice new greenhouse. There's too many other good plants to use, so we got to get it out of there. So here is another picture of the agriculture shop. Ours is on the bottom. And you can see it's just not really utilized. There's a lot of space for stuff. And this is after the concession season, so there's some bags of buns, and that's about what we've got going on right there. And the top is Mawson's, because that's the only picture I could really find of an ag shop, but it's not really an ag shop. It's really an auto shop with access to the ag room. And so that's, again, there's not a whole lot of ag shop areas anymore.
Do you still have the hydroponics at the high school?
We do, yes.
Where's that? Is that in the classroom?
So we've got some different spaces. Well, we have got a couple of systems. One is in the side room, which is designated on the floor plan as a small animal lab. And then we've got one flood bench out in the greenhouse itself.
Just making sure that was still going.
Yes.
My son started that.
We've got our animal lab spaces, and so we can kind of see the upper left there is Sauk Prairies, and that's from their new renovated space. So if you saw the big red barn kind of thing, this is inside that red barn on the other side of their classroom. So again, they can see through that with the windows, which is great. Good floors and all that kind of stuff, good spaces. On the bottom is Wisconsin Dells. It's kind of in that same room as the fish. And then Campbell Sport is all those pictures over on the right there, and that is again a converted ag shop into more of a large animal lab. So they've got, they bring steers in every year and raise steers. They farrow out hogs, and then they now have a chicken coop in there as well that they produce. So they produce these products to sell at their lunch program as well as to the community. Right now, I was talking to her just kind of before we came here, and she just said it's just an awesome opportunity for hands-on learning, and she doesn't know how she would teach animal science without it. And I'm sitting here going, I don't know how I teach animal science without it either. Here's what we have now. So that's our side room, is the main picture there, the bigger picture. That's our side room. So you can see we have our aquaculture tank that has our fish in there, our fishing rods, our fishing tanks, one hydroponic system, our growing thing, and then the animals come and go. We have one rabbit, 2 chinchillas, and they come and go from there. I like to get them out into the old greenhouse because there's better ventilation out there. But the old greenhouse, the reason why we have a new greenhouse is that it gets 100 degrees in there very easily, no matter what temperature is outside, because of the glass that it's made out of. It's just a hot box, so the animals can't stay in there for most of the year. And here are just some additional spaces that I don't have any comparison photos to because we don't have anything. So when Wisconsin Dells kind of did their new remodel, they have this area in between, they have kind of what they call the courtyard, in between their agriculture classroom and their new greenhouse, and they call this the edible acre. So they got strawberries and squash and all the things that they grow, and what they're doing now is on the bottom, they've converted an old silo that was on site, and that's not done yet, but they've converted that to a farm stand. So it's more of a CSA kind of an idea, community supported agriculture, so people come and buy the produce that they grow on site as part of the community.
And which school was doing that?
That's Wisconsin Dells.
Oh, they are.
Yes.
That's led by a former Lodi graduate.
Yeah.
That's right.
Nathaniel
Nathaniel, you might
Nolan.
notice Nathaniel there, yeah.
Nathaniel Nolan, yeah.
And then he's got more pictures there too. They were built, their high school was built on an old farm, and so the barn was there. So, but they have more animal lab space there as well. And then up in the top left is a meats lab, with some refrigerator space, and that's from Mauston. She kind of has specialties in the meat industry.
What's a meats lab?
What's a meats lab? A place where they can roll out a side of beef, which is a half of beef, and cut it up into the different parts. And so that's not all, like, it's a really cool industry. You might not think that like a lot of people get into it, but more people need to get into it, and that's been supported by the Biden administration, and Governor Evers is putting money into educational programs to get people into jobs in the meat industry. So it's an interesting side of things.
Be a butcher shop.
Yeah.
So like a butcher shop?
Like a butcher shop.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
So we have a whole ag processing class that would fit really well into. Right now it's kind of a converted food science class because.
And then we could sell that?
I mean, depending on the agreement with wherever the
Right.
beef is coming from.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, my area is much less of an issue. So the positive things right now in the business ed area is I've been around a long time in different buildings. I've visited different computer labs. With my experience, I've seen a lot. And honestly, I like my room. There's tweaks that definitely need to be made in it, but it is a very nice environment to teach in. So I'm very happy with where I'm at, other than a few little things which I'll talk about. It's multi-level, which is really nice in my opinion, because I can, and my teaching station, I know these are very hard to see, teaching station on the left is kind of in the middle there, and it's leveled up, so I can see everybody. And I have a program that I can watch everybody, what they're doing on their computer, but it sure is nice to look up and just see, because I can usually pick out kids that are struggling, or just by looking at them and being able to see all my students is fantastic. Also, I have adequate spacing between. There's 25 machines in there. Now, if we had to have bigger classes and move more in, it would get tight, but right now, the 25 are nicely spread out, so they have some room. And overall, it's a pretty welcoming room. It's, I keep the lighting down a little bit because I have found in my experience that it's just better for students who work on long projects to kind of have that mellow atmosphere, and the lighting in itself, fluorescent lights for some kids are an issue. The issues I have though, and this is a little hard to see, but there's a counter that goes right above my screen. So I can't stand in front of my class and talk without leaning against this counter. So the kids, as you can see where the arrows are, they're in the corner and you can see the screen. They can hardly see the screen when they're sitting there. So that's the big issue, is that little counter there and the way the computers are pushed against the wall. It's just not an easy room to lecture in, and it's not an easy room when you have a full 25 kids in there when they sit in those corners. They just can't really see very well.
And those computers are coming right up to that screen
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Okay.
those are computers that are sitting right there. And that is just a regular TV screen. When my projector went down this last year and we had to put something else in, it didn't pay to put a smartboard in. You would think in my area, technology, we should be teaching all this, but you can't access it. You can't reach it because of that counter there. So we talked about putting it on the other end of the room, but then the kids got to swivel, and this is just the best spot for right now anyways. The only other thing that are minor issues, oops, there we go. There's no natural lighting in my room at all. It's completely brick and mortar around me, so that's kind of hard some days, not to have any natural lighting in there for both me and the students. The countertops, I kind of took pictures of them. They're kind of coming apart, and that's kind of a little bit of a safety issue. I've had kids get caught, and snag and cut themselves every now and then. So there's some counter space. The heating and cooling system is rough in there. You know, computers should be kept at a certain cooling, and we worked on it last year. We kind of put things up to hopefully help, but it's never regulated. You can ask any of my students, one time they can come in and we can be sweating and half an hour later we're freezing. It's just been really hard to regulate the cooling and heating system in that room. And we've worked on it, we've done different tweaks, and we're getting by, but it's, you know, if you got that much equipment in there, you probably want to make sure it's adequately, the temperature is an adequate amount for it. And then the only other thing, and this is not an issue with me, but if we're looking at the future, and I'll show you a picture, I'm going to talk about the seating. You can see SAWC, that is their brand new computer lab, one of theirs. They have several, I think they have 2 rooms over there now that they've redone. The computers are along the wall and the tables are in the middle. Same with the Dells, they have like seating in the middle and the computers around the outside. And then the other one is Baraboo. And I actually just recently talked to the teacher at Baraboo, and he really likes this setup. He hasn't seen mine, but he likes this better. I don't teach a class that I need tables right now. My accounting kids, there's enough room in my room, and also the way I have it set up is I have a document camera that, and I have a program that I can demonstrate, and they can just look right on their computer screens. They don't have to look up at the big computer and swivel and turn. They just have to put their head up. And so for me, that is, I mean, I've offered, and we've talked about moving them maybe to a classroom accounting so they have more room, but honestly, they really enjoy having me just, you know, right there in front of them rather than having to turn or look or whatever the case might be. So that's the only class that I really have a lot of pencil and paper to, so I'm not seeing a huge need for myself at this point in our curriculum, needing tables like that, but that's not to say that's not the way to go down the road. I mean, I don't know the answer to that one, but I did want to bring that up, that the other schools are doing it that way. The 2 new ones, Wisconsin Dells and SAWC did do it that way, but right now my kids are perfectly happy the way I have accounting set up, so.
I'll try to answer some of the questions that you had brought up.
This is just extra.
Is that we've done this, we're really good at networking with our other local schools, and that's basically what we've done. That's cool. We can do that, maybe. It would be cool if we could do that. And we'd be working with the architects to be kind of doing that thing. These are cool. This is something that I would like to see because it's important to my curriculum and it would enhance student learning and meet industry standards. I don't know what wall can be knocked down and turned into a window. The architects have to kind of help us take what are cool ideas and tell you if it's feasible or not. The other side of things, like, you're not gonna be able to spend $15,000 to $18,000 and put new equipment. You've been doing that, and we really thank you for doing that. And we've been replacing lots of stuff with the Fab Lab and in Jamie's classroom. We need to really take advantage of those pieces of equipment and extend their longevity by separating those spaces out and then providing with those separations clear supervision lanes to be able to see. Because if we keep a lot of the equipment that you just put with the ESSER 3 funds in that wood shop with the metals and all that stuff, it's all gonna get messed up, gummed up, and you're gonna have to replace those a lot sooner than you otherwise would have to. So you're gonna save money in that way.
So are we talking about a plan that looks at like all the ag area, the technical shop area, the art area?
We're thinking our whole that whole kind of, if you look down that whole big block, because we've also got the old computer lab that we've been using as a Photoshop, can maybe be converted to something else, and something else can be converted to a better Photoshop, because the area now is not really working so well for Whitney and her Photoshop area as well. We've got an old foods room. We're not utilizing that as much as we should or could be. What could that be turned into, or how can we better utilize that space as well?
So this PRA proposal encompasses that entire wing and the PAC wing?
Yep.
And did we get bids from anyone else, or just?
We didn't. We worked with PRA in the past. They were the ones who did the primary school and all the referendum work, the last referendum we had when we did the construction. We always can go ask other people for bids as well, if you'd like us to do that. as we talked last time we walked through ESSER, talked about ESSER funding, one of the comments that came out was, we were talking about splitting the Meadows and the Woods area, and Jamie talked about well, we're thinking about putting a wall here, and it's like, who's thinking about putting a wall there, right? So it needs to be a bigger discussion for us to look at that footprint as a whole. And the reason we're looking at this time is, there's three real main reasons. One, career and tech ed was a high priority identified by our community area, and it's been on the balanced scorecard. The board approved the balanced scorecard, and right on our balanced scorecard, it says we're gonna do assessment of the spaces for career and tech ed. We're scheduled to do a roofing project at the high school, not this coming summer, but after that. It's a 3-year plan. So if we're gonna do anything in that area, it doesn't make sense for us not to at least have an idea, whether, even if it's just having somebody come in and we're like, we changed some ventilation and put a different hole in the roof. Well, let's do that before we put a new roof on, versus let's put a new roof on and then make a decision like we're gonna change them. Or if you're gonna change the footprint, then you're not gonna put a roof on right now. You would change the footprint, or at least that would be the plan. I don't know if that would be the plan, but that's a discussion. And finally, we're scheduled to go to a referendum again in the fall of 2026, and any decision that this board's gonna make and the community's gonna make regarding that space, that discussion, starting to gather that information, so you have time to have discussions about that at this level, share that information with the community, get input from the community, and move forward. We don't wanna be doing that the summer of 2026, right? Or, and then you feel rushed. It's like, let's be thoughtful about this process and take our time and walk through and see, again, what do we want for those spaces as we move into the future?
Yeah.
Because they were built, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Well, personally, this all needs to be done. My opinion, obviously. It's just more of, I wanna make sure there's enough money for what they need. I don't want it to be going to an organization that's overcharging us. That's what I'm more concerned about, because I see all this and it is safety and, all the stuff you're talking about, it's just like, oh my God, all these opportunities that we could be giving our kids, and, so that's not, it's just more of, I'm just more of a, are we just kind of using this group and all of a sudden then we're gonna have to hire someone else to do this and this, and I just wanna make sure that we're not.
so typically what happens, a great question, typically what happens, kind of like what we did, like C.G. Schmidt did a facility study for us, and then if we use C.G. Schmidt to help us, that money that we spent on the front end is offset. That helps pay for some of those things, but there's no guarantee we would use PRA for any of those things, so if we don't, I need to be clear and upfront that this is what the cost is.
Yeah.
And, we may decide to take things out the bid, and it may not be PRA, we may do other things. If it's PRA, they would incorporate that into the cost of if we would do anything, but they may look at it, and this board may decide not to do anything with architects, like nope, they came up with some plans, and we don't think, we wanna move in that direction, or the community would support us moving in that direction.
Yeah.
But we don't know what we don't know. I'm not an expert in where a wall can come down and where a wall can come in, where we can put a window. I'm not an expert in what structure we need to have in place to put a winch in, to pull up lights and making sure that that's there and that safety piece is done. That's not my area of expertise.
Yeah.
For those that are, concerned about spending the money for this, would you be more comfortable if we put an RFP out, just trying to get the best price? Is it because it's this one price? I don't wanna take on such a huge project and have that responsibility that we voted for something without having the professionals that are, know how to do it, tell us what we should do.
I have multiple questions. The high school roof is being done in 3 phases? So is that area, the CTE area that we're talking about, is that a separate roof?
It would be one of the 3 phases, part back in there, I don't know exactly.
Is it like a separate, I'm trying to
Not totally
picture
separate.
the school
Yeah,
and,
there's
all
different
of that.
spots, so we could look at, I don't have, again, not my area of expertise, so we would have to
Right,
look
right,
at
right.
3 different areas and how, we would be working with our building and grounds person to
Right.
decide how that exactly is going to play out.
Okay.
But it's all not one roof, right? Our
Right,
building's
right,
different roofs.
right.
Different roofs, different levels.
There's also staging for roofing, so you can't like stage all around the whole building, because you can't use it.
Oh, no, no,
then,
no, I know,
right? So
I know, yeah.
Staging
No, no,
over
no, I
here,
know
get
that.
this part
Yeah,
done,
yeah,
move the staging
yeah.
over there.
Yeah, nope, I totally get that. Why this company and not CG Schmidt?
CG Schmidt would be able to help provide some of the support, but CG Schmidt are not architects. They work
Okay.
closely with PRA at times.
Okay.
They work with other architectural firms too.
Would
So-
they recommend this?
Yeah, I talked to Justin Johnson, because he reached out, he's like, saw this was on our agenda, CG Schmidt, and said we'd be able to provide any support you need, have, PRA reach out to us. I'm like, well, could you guys do this? He goes, no, you need architects to.
And CG Schmidt is whom again? They're a general contractor.
They're a general contractor, so they would work with the
With all
architects
the
to put
other
the work in.
subcontractors,
Yep,
right,
and they
okay.
would do that work, so,
Okay.
like, for example, we had POB help
Yep.
design the track.
Mhm.
CG Schmidt was the general contractor, brought other
contractor,
people
right,
in and supervised the work, and when things didn't go well, they were the ones following up with.
Yeah, I just had to
different
get
people.
that whole,
Yep,
like,
okay.
picture in my head of all of that.
Yeah, I guess I'm just more of a, I'm, like, my kids will tell you too, it drives them crazy. Like, I go and find the best deal, and I take that time, and that's what I'm just nervous about. I just wanna make sure, I'm not arguing the fact that we don't need architects to do this. That's not my concern. I just wanna make sure that this is, I mean, bids can come in at such different prices, and I just wanna make sure that we're doing the right thing, and not just saying, oh, yeah, they did the primary school, let's just use them again. And I mean, they're a business, so they might have known they had a foot in the door, and who knows, they could have upped their bid, knowing, oh, they'll probably just go with us. So that's the only thing I'm concerned about. I'm not against using an architect, I'm not against all this, I mean, I would, love to do it all, we need to. I mean, that's not the question, I just wanna make sure that this portion, we're not just wasting our money on, so
I
that
don't
would
think
be
we're
my-
wasting it, but I do agree with you that is it the best price
Yeah,
for what we're
that's-
getting?
yeah,
I mean, I
that's,
guess,
I'm
I
more of a
mean,
shop-around person, so,
I had to do my, I did my roof.
Yeah.
When we buy car, you
Yeah.
go to multiple places, who's gonna give you the best?
yeah.
But you wanna get what you wanna get the best deal for your money though, too. You don't wanna just go with.
Exactly.
But there's a certain,
So I get that we use
assur-
them, so we do know.
Having
you
worked
know.
with a business, though, it says a lot, like when you have worked with a business and had a good experience with them,
Right.
that should weigh heavily on who you pick. But I mean, I certainly don't disagree that we want to be cost efficient. But
Yeah.
when you're working in partnership with an architectural firm or a general contractor, it certainly is reassuring to have worked with them in the past and to know. that-
Yes.
ERA came in years ago and digitized our entire system, our entire buildings, everything, so they have all of our content. Would they share that with other people? I have no idea. But anyone else coming in would more than likely have to. Do we have copies of the plans they put together, all the digital stuff?
Yeah, pass around.
Yeah.
Is it unreasonable to?
To your point, it's not a matter of, do I think that this is a good information to get? I think it's great information to get. My hang up and why Adam and I have been kind of going back and forth on this is not is it worthwhile information to get. It is. It's, do you do it now? Do we need to do it now?
Sure.
Do you do it down the road? Do you spend the money that you'd spend on the architects on something different now? And maybe the answer is, yeah, now's the right time to do it. Maybe the answer is, well, the referendum is how many years from now? Do you wait until it gets a little bit closer? I didn't consider the point that Vince brought up about the roofs and tying that in. So it's, to me, it's more a matter of answering like, when? Like, do we need to do this now and have this information now, or
Or do you wait a year?
do you wait?
That's
really.
The two referendums that I've been through and the meetings that the board has had over those referendums, you want as much time as you can get. The screaming and the back and forth over those things. You want as much time as you can get
What do you mean you want as much time as you can
to
get?
plan for the next referendum.
Oh.
To get everything in order and get the numbers and the things that are gonna get approved or not get approved or
Well, I'm not sure that we
conversations
had a
and-
lot of conversation about using this for an upcoming referendum at the committee level either. I mean, this is something, remind me if I forgot that, but I don't remember that really coming up when we were talking about this at the committee. It's something that more is being brought up tonight.
I shared all
I'm
of
not
the,
saying it's not valid.
yeah, I shared all the 3 points I just made at the committee level as well. Is that these are the 3 things, these are the reasons we should be thinking about that. Now, 'cause timing is a question, right? Why would you do it now? Those are the reasons I think it's now. I also know it's not, as you know, things aren't gonna get cheaper, right? We wait a year, it's not gonna be, price isn't gonna go down, it's gonna go up.
Right.
And the information, may be the same, at that time.
You could say that about anything.
You're exactly right.
Because if we spend this 15,000 on this, then we're not spending it on something else, and then there's something else we don't spend it on, that's gonna go up next year too. So
But
that argument can be used.
The other thing too is the 2 spotlights that we bought, and those are probably perfect spotlights, but if we had a plan in place for changing the PAC, we may or may not have bought those 2 spotlights, we may have bought these 2 spotlights, or 1 spotlight and these lights, because you now have a plan to put things in place that you know is gonna happen, or you think is gonna happen. Instead of spending money on things and then going, oh, that was a mistake, because we're going in this direction now,
Yeah.
right?
It's kind of like when we were talking, when we approved the throwing, it's just, all of that green space is sort of a trickle down. If you do this, then you gotta think about this and then this.
The Highway
Can-
60 fields, we had
Well,
the
yeah,
conversation
right,
about
yeah,
where
I
to
mean,
put where
exactly.
and what
Can
money-
this money come out of ESSER funds?
Yeah, you talked about that.
It sure could. It could come out of there, it could come out of the fund balance. Right?
But
We had
again,
the surplus
whether
last
it comes
year.
out of the ESSER funds or out of the fund balance, it's something that
Do we
you're
have
not
a,
gonna have to spend on something else, that's all.
yeah, do we have a time limit without the ESSER?
Yeah, ESSER has to be spent by next September. So the Facility and Finance Committee's been going over the ESSER budget. We went over everything that had not been purchased, that was still over $15,000 that was budgeted. And the committee decided that everything that was budgeted, they moved forward with. And some of that was career and technical education areas, Discovery Center, several other areas. But there's still money that is left there. The administration made a recommendation of where we should spend that money. They wanted us to come back with some alternatives. We came back with some alternatives with that, but it's not an urgency. So like, for example, the spotlights tonight that we bought for the PAC that the board approved came out of ESSER. But the committee hasn't made any decisions moving forward with what the remainder of ESSER is going to be used for.
And could some of that then, with what Mr. Marshall presented, there are more the emergent needs that we don't need, an architect, whatever, could some of that, that remaining ESSER money be used for some of those things?
I just have,
I don't know,
I just have a suggestion that it might help us. I don't know. I think we should go touring that area for sure. Because I've been back there in all those little hidey holes and places, because school nurses got to do that and people got hurt here and there and all over. And I'm just thinking, I just feel this, and I know my husband is Mr. Preventative. The biggest bang for our buck is not gonna be to let all this stuff fall apart. Picking at this and that and the other thing, but if you get the big picture, and I don't care if we, have other bids come in or not, but if you get a big picture and you know what you're going for, because I don't think they can fix one thing without it affecting everything else.
No, and I agree.
They
I
just
mean,
can't.
I mean, there's some things
And big
it
walls
sounded
coming
like-
down
well, no,
for
not that, but-
supervision. There's walls all over down there, just cement walls all over the place.
The other suggestion I would make is if you're gonna, if you think you're gonna save significant amount of money, then absolutely, let's do an RFP process. If you think it's gonna be kind of close, then you're gonna spend that much money in our time, in energy, putting together an RFP process and going through that as well. So if we think that there's gonna be if our hope is that there's gonna be a significant, then we can do that. But if you think it's, they might be kind of close, then we're also spending money to go through that process as
Is
well.
there an industry standard on these kind of evaluations? I mean, how do we know if we're close or not?
Yeah, I'm relying on them, right, PRA, to
Tell
give
us.
us that information, yes, so.
So how did PRA know? Did we reach out to them?
I reached out to them.
Okay.
Yeah, I reached out to them because as part of our strategic plan and our scorecard, it says we're gonna do an analysis of the space.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not an architect, so I can't
Yep.
tell you, like, if we move this wall, what's gonna happen?
So this is my thought, and I can even make a motion, is I am not debating, I mean, again, this is just me talking. I am full on board of doing this stuff. Like, that is not what I don't think we should wait. The community told us what they want this referendum money spent on. So, in my opinion, like, we need to do this. I am just more hesitant about, I would like more bids.
Let me
Figures?
clarify one thing before we.
Mr.
there is-
Marshall had something
Yeah, but
too.
before we go, there is no referendum money for this, right?
No.
You just said referendum. So there is nothing right now in the referendum that was passed.
For
that
any of
we're-
this.
For any of this,
Oh,
right?
okay.
This
I
would
thought
be
it was
for a
saying on here
future
that-
referendum.
Future referendum.
Future
No,
referendum.
no, they're talking about they're
No.
talking about a potential referendum in the future when the current one is up.
There's nothing in the current referendum that was.
I
the
thought you
roo-
were
the
saying that
roofing-
the current.
No.
The roofing is in
the
the current
roofing.
one.
So I wanna make that very
Yes,
clear.
thank you for making that clear.
Yes, because
Roof has
that
to-
is
I thought
not
that's
what
what
we
it said
said we
here,
were
but now
gonna
I
do with
see.
the current referendum.
Okay.
The idea is if you're going to look at these spaces, right, one of the things is, that could come out of that is, we wanna redo some things, like if you see some of the things that our CTE department showed us, if you would wanna do that, that would take a referendum, right? We don't have the funds to do some of those things. What that would cost, what that would look like, I don't know. But it's worth exploring,
Yeah.
so you know. And so
So
people
this
can
is
make a
for,
decision.
this is the architecture company is gonna come in and tell us, this is what we suggest, this is how much it's gonna cost, and we're gonna ask for that, or we're gonna probably put that on the next referendum. Is that kind of
They're
what
gonna
our
give you a
thought
bunch of
process
options.
is?
They're gonna give you a bunch of options.
You're gonna get information and then you decide what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some stuff, there probably could be some money for smaller things,
Yeah.
but
And that's why I asked the question about the roof, on how many parts of that roof are, because if you start thinking, why would you spend money on the roof in that back area?
No, if we're gonna have to
If you're
do-
gonna be doing something, but I
Okay.
do wanna hear what Mr. Marshall
I
had
was
to
just gonna say, that's.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, right, to answer Scott's question from earlier, right, I think the PAC space, we could probably update in a way that would really be impactful to that place without an architect. Knowing the CTE space and the challenges there, I don't think that you have the same option, right? And if you're bringing in somebody to look at that space, and if the board feels like that's a long-term vision, is to potentially look at updating that space, now's the time to also have them look at the PAC and make sure that the things that we're thinking are structurally sound, that's the best use of our space, to be creative and give us some options, as well, right? So I think that it certainly is not a 50-50 need for an architect, but we also, right, I think that will add some validity to the things that we're doing within the PAC, but certainly when I walk through the tech ed spaces, and then I see some of what's happening at other schools across, our region, those sort of things can't happen unless you start to bring somebody in to look at our space and give us some options.
But again, is right now, like what Scott was saying, is it right now, do we do it right now, or do we wait?
so any future referendum would be fall of 2026, right?
That would be,
Potentially.
potentially, you would look at the fall of 2026 or the spring of 27.
So would
The
it
fall
make-
of 26 is a governor election, so more people turn out. That's typically, you want to hear from the most amount of people when you do that.
So would it make more sense to have them come in a little while, so it's closer?
Except for the roof thing, right?
Except for the roof.
Yeah, that's,
So-
yeah. Okay, this is why I love this board.
That's all I'm asking, Heather.
We
That's all
discuss.
I've been saying.
Yeah.
is Not
It
is
is
it a good
now.
idea or a bad idea, it's a good idea, it's just, is it a good idea?
Yeah.
Do it right now.
So,
Or do you wanna
like,
take
for instance-
$15,000 of ESSER funds and spend it on something different, is basically what it comes down to.
We've been kicking around the green space plan for 2 years now, and still have not finished it.
But we're,
I was gonna say more than two.
Okay, more than 2, 3, sorry, whatever it is.
Are we
It
concerned
takes
that this
time.
plan might become outdated if we do it?
Takes time.
Yes.
Do it now,
It's not gonna get
and then need to craft to, look for funding potentially. again,
Potentially?
Potentially future referendum, I'm not saying this is gonna
Yeah.
be 100%
We have a space that's 25 years old. I don't think, my personal opinion is if you do something that's, that gets done in the spring of 2024, looking at, that's when you would talk about in the spring of 2026, making a recommendation at this level to go to referendum. You would have 2 years then to have discussions about that, take it to your community, get feedback from the community. I don't think it's gonna get outdated in 2 years. That would be my thought, but, and again, the reason I bring it now. Or ultimately gets to make that decision.
I kind of feel like you don't know how bad your bed is until you start shopping for a new bed. Brought up some legit concerns tonight, and I hear supervision is an issue, I hear safety is an issue on some things, I hear technology and some of that stuff. I think it behooves us as a board to hear that and to listen to it and to do well with that information, to take the steps to finding out what we need to do for our schools. I think if there's something more important that we should put the ESSER funds to that I'm missing, anybody knows of that,
You said this
speak
could come
up.
up, it doesn't
It's
have to
not.
come out of the.
reality is
It
that you
doesn't.
can get the report, but you likely aren't gonna be able to do any actual work with it until there's a referendum. So do you need it now, or do you get it if next year?
It's the same thing
But
as
we
green
won't
space.
have the
It's
money
the same
then,
thing as
is
green
what I'm
space.
afraid of. If the
What?
ESSER funds run out, I'm afraid that we won't have the money and we won't be able to do that
Well,
without it being.
ESSER funds aren't the only way to fund it, it's a way to fund it.
It's a way, it can come out of the general fund too.
But we do have the ESSER funds now,
And they're gonna go, yeah.
I mean, if the board decides to do this tonight, I would
If,
urge that we use the ESSER funds to pay for it.
I would like to make a motion to get bids for facility study from other architects.
An RFP process, is that what you're saying?
What?
You're saying for them to do an RFP process?
Yes, I would just like to get other bids instead of just the PRA. That's what my motion would be, just to see what our options are. I would just feel better and then see where that goes.
somebody has to second before we can discuss.
I'll second it for you.
Okay,
thank you.
I have some discussion then.
Okay, perfect.
How long does that RFP process take?
We have to pull together. It would take us a few weeks. I would have to work with Brent on
So not
the process.
months, but.
Well, it would take us a few weeks to put one together, then we would send it out.
For a month?
Yeah,
Give them a
probably,
month
yeah,
to
so it
bring
would be
them out?
we wouldn't do anything till then in the spring. I
Or
shouldn't
the
say spring,
first-
like, after the first of the year.
After the first of the year, come
At
back to the board
least.
to say, okay, this
So
is
like-
who we're gonna go with.
And then
By
they have
January
to
board
do it.
meeting, would
January,
we have
February.
bids?
Yeah, January, February, I would think.
And then
They
my,
have to
people
schedule
that
it
would
to
be-
do it.
Pardon?
I said then it wouldn't be done then, it would just be.
Right, it would be us bringing RFPs back to the board.
Right, but it could take
Or back to the
another
Facility and
year to get
Finance
done.
Committee and walking through and making a recommendation of who you're going with.
Right.
Then we could decide at that.
No, I realize that, but once
want
you
to do it.
decide who you're gonna go to, it's gonna also take them time to then do the process. So we're probably looking at 2025.
Well, if we're gonna
Probably
wanna
done
use
this
ESSER
spring.
funds, we have to spend that by September, and if they can't, if one of the places that
Right.
makes a bid and they can't do it by then we just wouldn't be able to use them,
We'd
I
have
guess.
to
well, we wouldn't be able to use ESSER funds,
Well, yeah, if we wanna use ESSER funds,
if
is what
we
I'm
wanna
saying.
use ESSER funds.
And I mean, it's just options, I mean, like I said, I am all for using an architect, like that has been convinced, not that I didn't think we needed that, that was a question when I
I think
first
it's
came
still the
here, is-
timing.
but
when
I
you do
just wanna make sure that we aren't overspending on this part of it, because I want every cent possible to go to all of what they need, and not just, I'm sorry,
An architect.
suits writing up plans, I'm sorry, like, I want the real people, I wanna hear what, and
Board has
that's.
hired suits for every single thing.
And
over
I
the last 10
understand, I'm not
years,
saying we're
over
not
and
going to
over.
hire an architect, I just wanna hear other bids instead of just PRA.
Just to make sure
I
that
mean,
we're on part of it.
My husband's a painter, he works with several companies, and every time he still has to put a bid in, because there could always be somebody that has better pricing, and that's the builder and the contractor's decision, and I just feel like, if we're gonna do this, I just wanna make sure that, and if PRA is the best bid, then let's go for it.
So if we move forward with this, it kind of makes the other motion moot tonight, makes it, there's no reason to pursue it, right?
The other motion.
The other motion
use
to move.
PRA.
But there isn't.
Approving
PRA.
Yeah, you wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't
If
do
you're gonna
that.
go to RFP, then you would
Correct,
put,
that-
you wouldn't do
that's what
anything
I'm
with that.
saying.
Yeah, the motion's to go, the motion on the table right now is to go to RFP process
But
for a
I'm saying
facility
if the board
assessment.
just passes that, then there's no reason to even act on this other motion tonight.
Right, because that would totally undermine doing an RFP process.
Yeah,
Laying-
right.
Heather, I would just ask you, discussion with the rest of the board, to the point Vince made earlier. If we've worked with PRA and the district has been successful working with that company and the contractors have worked with that company, and we'll just say that would be our first choice to use.
Okay.
It's a lot of money, but it's not, I just wonder if there's gonna be that drastic of a difference if you go to bid. I understand your point. There is a timeline that's been discussed tonight. And if another company that the district isn't familiar with working with comes in for $2,000 less, would we be required, to Angie's point, to take them? Or would we end up saying, we've worked with PRA and we wanna go with a company that we've worked with?
I mean, I feel
So
like
it-
price is not the only thing. I mean, if they are only coming in $1,000 or $2,000 cheaper, and PRA is explaining, well, we're gonna do this and this and this, and this other company isn't. I mean, I don't know how, if it's like, if there are rules to that, of how the school district has to accept bids, but in my opinion, I'm gonna look at all aspects of what they're offering.
You are
but-
not required to take the lowest bid, right?
Okay.
You would, for example, if you're going through an RFP process, we are going to do reference checks on anybody who puts one in. So if somebody comes with us with the lowest price, but they have horrible references, the district's not required to take them.
Okay.
Right, so you go through that bid process and you try to get apples to apples, like, as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then you make a decision based on
And
that
I have to
information.
admit, PRA they do have an advantage with us, because
I
they
have,
work
I
with
have
us.
a real
wonder if
concern
it's
that we're
worth
not gonna
all the
save very
effort.
much money because of the amount of effort that we're gonna have to pay our staff, including to get the RSV process going. That when we're talking about something that's $15,000 or $18,000, saving 10%, 20%, 30%, that's not that much.
It's a big percent, it's not that much in actual dollars.
That's what I mean, it's not that much in actual dollars, and I think that would be offset by the personnel time to do
Is this
the
Brent's job to put this together?
It would be Brent in mind, yes.
And I think it also comes again down to timing.
Which I think is not.
Is right now the time to do it? Or next spring?
That's why it's here at the board tonight. 'Cause
Right,
that's
no, I know,
really
I know,
the-
I know.
The crux of the issue, and that's why we're having the discussion, and
Yeah.
that's why we got the input, because I think we learned some things tonight
Yeah.
that have to consider as far as.
But, I mean, the sooner you get it then, you've got that roof you're dealing with,
Yes.
with 3 phases. That could potentially, this new information could potentially affect that roof.
I don't think there's a real downside to getting it now, from what I'm hearing. Like, other than, is there something that $15,000 to $18,000 should be doing right now? Having been through a few referendums, I do feel really uncomfortable when we do not have the information we feel we need when we are putting that together. And I think that having that sooner rather than later, there's nothing worse than scrambling and trying to decide how we're gonna put things together. Then you don't even look, you don't look like you've done your work, and this is part of the work.
So the info that you gave PRA to give us that quote, why are we not just giving that to the other companies? Why is there extra work involved?
If we're gonna do an RFP, we're gonna have to put like more structure together, like we're gonna act, so everybody gives us the same information, right? Because we just had an informal conversation with PRA. we sat down, had an informal conversation. We need to make sure that everybody's structuring the bid the same way, or else we're gonna get bids that are widely different, but then they're covering widely different things. We need to make sure that they're structured in a certain way.
And back to Adam's point, though, they have all PRA, they have all that information
So,
on all our buildings, right? I'm gonna
Again,
vote
the discussion on it, the discussion right now is regarding Heather's
motion. I'm gonna vote no.
Are we ready to vote?
I think so. Are we ready to vote?
I'm okay with
Do you want to
voting on it.
repeat the motion just for fun?
Mo, can you repeat the motion?
I was gonna say.
Motion Baron Sandberg to do an RFP out to other architect firms for bids on facility assessment.
Do we want to?
We have to vote on it.
We have to
because
vote
there's
on it.
nothing else.
Do you want roll call, or do you want just,
I don't care how we do it. I don't know what
are
everybody
you
else
good
is.
with roll call, just to make it clear, or no? Okay. Scott?
No.
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 My names are all messed up. Yes.
No.
No.
Okay, motion, and I would have said yes, but motion fails, 5-2.
Make a motion to approve PRA Architects to conduct facility study of the district's career, technical education spaces, and performing arts center.
Second.
Motion by Adam, second by by Angie, sorry. Any discussion?
Yes, so if this passes, when do they come in and do it? I mean, when do we get the
There-
information?
There was a timeline in board docs, but it maybe have to be adjusted because we were looking at getting it approved at the facility finance level. So they were talking about coming in, I think, as early as next week or the week after, doing
Yeah.
visits like in
They
December.
said like
So-
November 20th, meet with staff,
Yep.
December 4th, tour, so.
Can I ask
So
a
we-
question of Adam and Angie? Would you be comfortable adding on to that motion paid for by ESSER 3 funds? Or would we not need to do that right now? I would, if we do it, I'd like to use ESSER 3 to pay for it. And I would be more inclined to say yes. So, that's, I guess that's a question for Angie and Adam, if they're willing to
There's-
change their, or amend their motion, and Vince and Mo, if that can be done, or if we should just vote on this and then make another.
You could do it either way. You can amend a motion, or you could
So then
make it
the
as a
question would be
secondary
to Angie
motion.
and Adam, would you be comfortable / willing to
Yeah, I'll
make
make
that
to
addition?
add ESER funds.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Why is it that you want it to come out of those funds?
I'd like to use the ESSER, knowing what we have and some of the things that we've been talking about at the finance committee that we've been talking about spending the ESSER funds on. I think this is kind of one of the, I think this is a good thing to spend it on. I think it's kind of what the intent of the ESSER funds are, as opposed to coming out of one of our other funds.
I would also like to see it come out of the ESSER funds too.
That's the motion, though.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, we're not gonna get another bid, I would have preferred that, just to make sure, but I want this project to be evaluated, so.
Would you qualify PRA as the conversation you had? I'm just speculating, is that, hey, we will come and check this out, right? It's not like we are gonna do exactly this, and this. They're gonna do what they need to do.
Correct.
It's like not an end or anything.
No, we had a conversation with them, like, hey, we are looking at, we need to study our space, right? We need to do a space analysis of these two areas. What kind of process would we go through? Because we want to look at, looking at what we have, what it could be, go visit other places, right? Because it's sometimes hard to know what you, right? I think the conversation I had with the CD department is, in education, we're really good at like, we walk into a space and, okay, I'm gonna make this space mine, and that's just, like, I was a school psychologist, I worked in a lot of broom closets, that's just what I did, right? There was a desk and a broom and stuff there, and that was just what you did, because, and same with, like, you walk in the ag room, or, Connor, that's what he walked into, and you make your curriculum that way, so it's nice to go visit other places, and then come back and have more conversation, and then look at, like, well, if we were gonna update this space within this footprint, what are some options? If you had the option of expanding the footprint, what would that look like? And have them walk through that, but they need to have input, from our staff.
That's what I really want to
And
push
that
for.
has to be part of it, and I would have part of either, again, invite a member to the Facility Finance Committee as well to come along on those conversations, and on those visits as well.
And I just want to make sure we're talking CTE and PAC.
Yes.
That
So
was the
this is
motion.
going to cover both.
Mhm.
Okay.
Dr. Carls, ESSER 3 funds, that wouldn't be a problem using them for this, right? From what I understand?
Let's vote.
You guys ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, do we want to do roll call again, or just?
Yeah, do roll call.
Sure.
Okay.
You had it as well.
But it's good discussion.
Mo, could you repeat it? That motion?
It's the motion that's in there, but with
Yes.
ESSER funding added to it.
Steinberg Lathrop moved to approve PRA architects to conduct a facility study of the district's career and technical education spaces and performing arts center paid for by ESSER 3 funds.
Okay, we'll start with Sarah.
Yes.
Adam?
Yeah.
Christie? Yes. Terry?
Yes.
Sorry.
Skipping
I know, because I should put my thing in order. So
Order you
Angie
want.
said yes. Terry
Yes.
said yes, right? Okay, Scott?
Yes.
And I will say yes to this too. So motion passes 7-0.
All right.
Can I
Get you
just
guys
say,
your stuff.
now that, you know, the safety and the supervision has been made to light,
Yeah.
I don't know, can we get eyeballs on those children? Is there a way?
They're
May
making
not
it work
be.
now by supervising.
She
Yeah.
said I'm
like,
one
they're
person
just
and
being
kids are
very
here, that
fast.
just like
No, I,
hit my mama heart.
She's pretty good though. She's got quite the presence back there. I don't know how
she
she does
does.
it. She is
Yeah.
one person, but she,
And look at the kids that are involved in that. Let's give them credit.
This is true.
I mean,
You never know.
All right.
yes.
What do you think, Caleb?
All right.
How'd you like all that discussion?
Talking about musical kids.
Oh, yeah, the musical
Yes,
kids
that
too,
was a
yeah.
great discussion board. That was great. Okay, so now we are on to our course proposals.
Yeah, so there are new course proposal information here. Thank you all.
Thank you so
for
much.
being here.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for sitting here, guys. Thank you, I appreciate
Mr.
it.
Jellick has shared
Hearing us
information
talk.
about new course proposals at the high school. There was some information shared at the curriculum committee level that has been addressed and has been brought into here. We are recommending approval of these course proposals.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024-2025 new course proposals as presented.
and I'll second that. Second.
Motion by Sarah, second by Terry. Any more discussion?
I just think it's great to have like enthusiasm from the staff and students about new things that might, you know, be great for everyone.
Yeah, no, it does. It's all good stuff. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, our high school course catalog, 2024-2025.
So we had to have this second because the new course proposals are in the new high school course handbook or catalog. So we would recommend approval for the course catalog because we will be starting to look at scheduling of students here for next year in the next month or so.
Fast. It does happen
I
fast.
move to approve the 24-25 school. Let's try that again. I move to approve the 2024-2025 high school course catalog as submitted.
I'll second.
Motion by Adam, second by Sarah. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. And then
Yeah.
we have our 2024-2025 school calendar update.
Yeah, so the next couple items are gonna be just informational. The board approved 2 calendars last board meeting, one with a start date in August, the other with a start date in September. The August start date required a waiver from DPI. The waiver was filed on behalf of the district and was denied. So the district will be moving forward with the 24-25 school calendar with a start date of September 3rd, 2024. That information was shared with all families at the end of October. Board members just wanna make sure people are aware of that, and that's where we are, so.
Yes, and I'd also like to, just so the community is aware too, we obviously took that survey, we went with what the parents wanted, majority. We applied, and our reasoning was because of the break is better for our kids for mental health, and DPI did deny it.
Yep.
There was some confusion that I've heard from the community, so I just wanna make that.
Yeah, so they, we had the same request last year. They kind of connected that with COVID, so when I got an email back, saying, well, we're not giving COVID waivers this year. And I'm like, well, I didn't ask for a COVID waiver last year. Well, we considered it a COVID waiver. I'm like, well, that, okay, because there's nothing in statute that says anything that for waivers for mental health.
So DPI is sticking with Wisconsin.
Yeah,
and
so it'll be
starting
interesting. It's
at
like Green Bay, I saw it today in the paper, Green Bay is asking for a waiver for a start date because of the NFL draft.
What?
Because they're gonna have
It's up there.
30,000 people in there
Yep.
in congestion, so they
That's
wanna
right.
take some of those days off, so they wanna start early, and I'm
Yep.
like, well, that doesn't fit in any of those categories,
Right.
so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it
We
will
should
be.
get very creative then if we wanna ask again.
Yeah, I'd be on the full draft in a minute.
Yeah.
It was funny. I'm
We
like,
are down the
it was-
interstate.
Oh,
It does make
my.
sense.
Yeah, initially, I'm like, kids me, and then I'm like, well, yeah, they're gonna have all those people there,
Yeah.
congestion.
Wow,
Yeah.
It's interesting.
All right.
So no motion, just information.
just
Yes.
information on that.
Okay. And then we have our board community linkage
Yeah,
presentation.
so again, I mentioned this in my report, just a reminder, we're gonna have a board community linkage session December 4th at 6 PM in the high school commons. We moved up our community link, so that goes out to all families, it'll go out
Oh,
this week.
great.
So they'll be able to see that and know how to sign up for those who aren't watching. Everybody gets that in their mailbox. So we'll look at December 4th, we're asking people to RSVP, because we're gonna have taher, have some hors d'oeuvres, some snacks, so we know how much food and how to set up the room. The idea will be, we will start at 6 o'clock with just some informal conversation. At 6:30, we'll kick it off, and then we'll break everybody up into 3 groups and rotate them for 15 minutes, kind of like we do our gallery walks here at the board.
Are we gonna do that in the,
Yep.
like the lunch area, common area?
Yeah, so we will start in the commons at the high school,
Okay.
well, depending on the size,
Okay.
either the commons or the library, and then we will rotate to the commons, the library, and the LGI.
Oh,
Will be the
okay,
3
perfect.
spots, because you'll need a
Okay,
screen.
yep, yep.
So yes, community, please sign up if you wanna be
Yep.
there.
Yeah,
And we will be doing a couple of these as well for our staff.
Mm-hmm.
One tomorrow at the primary school, where we'll be using, starting the library, but we'll also use the, downstairs, we'll use the art room and the music room, correct?
Yep.
Ms. Westmaner?
Yep.
And then, so we'll rotate people through as well, and then we will postpone the one that we're gonna do this Thursday. Wondering if people are able to make the 30th, November 30th. And we can do that at the end of the meeting as well, but that would be the Thursday
Yeah.
after Thanksgiving. It's 2 weeks from now, but it'll be a Thursday night again
I can.
at 3:30.
Do we, are we deciding that right now?
Do it now.
Yeah.
Can
Do
we-
it now, I can do it.
I can do it.
my husband has surgery on the 29th. I believe I can do it.
Okay,
Just one.
okay. And I mean, obviously we
That's
want
where
you
there are
there.
multiple
but-
presenters.
There's, right, so.
Yeah, Angie and I can obviously.
I would plan on being there.
Yes,
Okay.
30th.
Do
So
it.
November 30th, does that work?
Yep, and which school is that at?
Right after
It's
school.
gonna be at the high school.
3:30 to
4:30.
Because the primary school is next week, or tomorrow night rather.
Well, again, you can, it don't have to both be there, like you and Adam are presenting, so if Adam is comfortable doing it, then.
I might be, depending on what it.
Yep.
It's just staff anyway. I mean, that's not important. No, but it's
They're
a
very
very
forgiving.
comfortable
They're
environment.
very
It's a comfortable, and
They
that's
already
what you
know the
yeah.
topic.
I mean,
Right.
that's why we're
It's a
doing it,
comfortable
so we can
environment.
kinda
Yes.
get
Give
feedback
you
from them,
practice.
yeah.
Yes.
Alright,
Sarah's
well,
doing.
so let's
I'm
put it in,
Yeah.
and at this point,
Yep,
so
so we'll do the
30th,
30th.
okay.
Yep.
Maybe I can get Vince to tag along with me
Yeah.
tomorrow.
We'll have an administrator at each of the
Mr.
groups,
Jelinek or somebody.
right? So we'll have probably Dr. Carls with the strategic plan, or, strategic planning.
That'd be good.
Brent or I will be at the referendum, the other one will be there, and one will be at, green space.
Okay.
We're there as
So
a
one of you
reference
will
though.
be at the green
Yes.
space. Okay,
Is
thank
that,
you.
is that so that Brent can go, wait a minute, don't say that, don't say.
Hopefully the staff.
No, the hardest part, we've talked about, the hardest part for administrators is for us to keep our mouth shut, right? It's going to be, this is your presentation, not ours.
I can't believe they said that.
That's what I'm saying. In talking to the district who did something similar like that, that's what they would say, like, the hardest part is not jumping in,
Yeah.
like,
And tomorrow's is at the primary school?
Primary school,
Where
yeah.
do we?
library,
In the library.
3:30, that's where we'll start.
Okay.
We'll have the other room set up for you.
Easy to find? I haven't been in there in a long time.
The library is, walk in to the left.
Thank
Right
you.
there.
Last
It's
time I
through
donated
glass,
books
not
like 3
cement,
years
so you
ago.
can see them.
Okay.
Designed by people.
Okay.
All right, so our safety drill reports.
Yeah, so as required under Act 143, each school must conduct a school safety drill, prepare an evaluation report, and submit it to the Board of Education for review and approval. The required reports have been submitted for Lodi Primary School, Lodi Elementary School OSC, Lodi Middle School, and Lodi High School for the board review and approve, and we'd recommend approval, and then I have to upload them to the Office of School Safety by January 1st.
Make a motion to approve the building school safety drill evaluation reports as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Adam, second by Sarah. Any more discussion?
Yes, so there were good suggestions in there on how to make that stuff better. That will happen, right? It's not just a suggestion. Those are like, we are gonna make those things.
We're constantly looking how we can improve what we're doing, so that's one of the things that we looked at this year is making sure that we have like what went well, what are areas we can.
Sounded like majority of it went great.
But again, putting safety plastic like we did on the outside doors was paid for by a grant by the federal government. We no longer have that grant, and so getting that film on those windows is gonna cost money, and that's a really good suggestion in those areas, so.
I remember being part of a violence lockdown, and staff did really well. That was way back when my kids were at the old primary school. And they had that
Yeah. It was
guy.
like, yeah.
And that's why we have the emergency buckets. And the emergency buckets have first aid, have bottled water, a tarp, duct tape, kitty litter in case somebody needs to go potty while they're in lockdown. It's quite, I mean, it was taken right out of the emergency kit things that we got online and made them ourselves and saved a whole bunch of money. A lot of money.
No, thank you guys. Taking all the time to do that. I'm sure it's obviously just a small, like, half-hour time, but I know that you guys put way more time into it than what the students see, so. All right,
We need to vote on
Oh,
yes, so I would just wanna make sure no one held any more discussion. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. State convention.
So there is information in front of all of you regarding state convention, which happens in Milwaukee on January 17th through the 19th. You just need to let Maureen Palmer know that you are planning on going, and then if you're planning on going to one of the pre-sessions.
If you would've told me 5 years ago that I would get excited about this, I would've said you crazy.
What do
I loved it last year.
people that go,
And I was
how
like
long, do you
looking
go
it
the
up.
whole time, or do you just go certain days, or what?
It's all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, and Friday morning.
And you can go Tuesday evening, there's like three.
Yeah, there's pre.
Most people go down Tuesday, so they're there bright and early on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
It starts at 8 o'clock.
Right,
First
it's
session's
too
kick
hard
off
to
at 8.
try to
Yeah, but there is
Good stuff on Tuesdays.
yeah, there's some stuff on Tuesday if you want to go.
This is like going to the school finance stuff just year after year after year is really helpful because it's just so complex that.
Right.
Yeah, I got plenty of time.
I usually go to the school finance.
I do too.
All the time.
To see the guy from, I'm excited to see.
So if you have any questions about it, ask one of the other board members who've gone in the past, or you can ask Maureen or ask myself regarding any questions you have about lodging,
Yes.
any of those things, so.
Yes, you veteran board members were awesome last year.
Oh, yeah, I like it.
Totally.
I forgot
But
about
I
that.
did
And she didn't get it.
Okay, policies.
Yeah, so
First read some policy.
policy committee reviewed and unanimously approved, moved on to the full board, recommendation of 38 Neola policies that are listed in board docs.
We have almost 30 left that we didn't even go
I-
through.
Yeah.
I have one I want to pull out and it keeps like disappearing, but I think it's 5310. 5310. I can find it.
5310, emergency nursing?
Yes.
Or 5310.01?
No, not that one. Okay, here it is. I had it pulled up twice.
Not 5310.
I just have a question. Why
5310.
Yes, 5310.
the bottom two, notifying the parents and all that has been stricken? Is it just because it's the board notifying them, or is it like?
Am I on the right one here?
Yeah, so it's.
At least annual meetings, specific approximate dates of
Yes,
school year
she's asking
when-
about, I think, that.
Any non-emergency
We just don't do
invasive
that.
physical exam, is it because we don't do it, or
We
is
just
it we're
don't
just
do
not
those.
gonna tell them when we're doing
No, we don't.
non-invasive
We don't do 'em.
physical exam?
We don't do any of those
physical
things.
exams.
Okay.
Doctors, that's why it's out of there.
Yeah,
We
you
don't.
can't
We
do
don't
an
that. We don't
invasive
do
So it's
medical
basically
exams on
NA.
people.
Okay.
I can't believe that would be even a choice in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Adam's saying like he
lice?
can't believe
Like,
that's even in there.
That non-invasive physical exam, checking for lice? I would want,
That's
if my
not
child, if my
We-
child
we
got
do
checked
that.
for lice, I
We
wanna
do.
know.
Anytime there's
so
a
I can
health
check
room,
to
yeah,
make sure.
anytime there's a
Got
health
checked
room
for
visit,
lice,
you're
you'd be
notified.
the first
Anytime
person
the
to know,
nurse
my
is
dear.
doing a health room visit, people are notified.
But it takes it out. I just wanna know if my child has lice.
No, but this is,
I think it's saying the board, right?
this is
Well, that's right.
invasive.
No, it says non-invasive.
It's invasive.
It says
No, it does say
invasive.
invasive, it says non-emergency, never mind.
It
Okay.
says
Non-emergency
invasive,
invasive
yeah,
physical
non-emergency
examination.
invasive. Checking for lice is, to me,
Not
as a
invasive.
nurse,
It's not
that is not
invasive.
an invasive
Yeah,
physical
I know, I read that
examination.
wrong.
You read
Okay.
that wrong.
That is, an
Thank
invasive
you for
physical
reading it right.
examination is me,
And you will
You don't
get,
even need to go there because it says it
Yeah,
on
we
the
get,
bottom.
yeah, we get it.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Okay, so this
I'm
is,
glad that we brought
right.
it up.
this is just because we don't do it.
correct.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Yes.
That's a, I think, a great question, because that would be scary
only do
if it was just, yeah.
It's
No,
stricken, it needs
legally,
to have
you
a
can't do
reason why
that.
you're striking
I
it.
think the other thing we did have a question about, where we had some discussion about the policy committee level, was we'd stricken some stuff out of the library policy that was taken up, and we were pushed it like that if there was a concern, it would go to policy 9130. So everything went to the same complaint policy. And I think the concern initially was like, well, the district is not asking for people to make complaints, and that's not the case. The district is saying, if there's a complaint, we want it to start with if it's in a classroom, the teacher and the parent having a question, having a conversation, versus it going to the board, right, or going to some committee. Like, we want to have things solved at the local level as much as possible. The minute you start bringing like, okay, we're gonna start a committee, regardless, if this happens, we're gonna bring a committee together. Well, then, as you've seen in the news, outside organizations get involved. We just wanna solve the problem. So how we solve the problem is by having the people closest to the situation get involved. And if that doesn't happen, then you get the principal involved, and there's a conversation, and then it goes to director of instruction, then it goes to superintendent, then it goes to the board. That is why we have that process, and it's a process for everything.
Wasn't the cell phone policy in here?
We also had a discussion, here, I think you bring up, we had a discussion, we had somebody talk about public input about us banning cell phones at the high school. Caleb's gonna like this. Banning cell phones at the high school all day, except for lunch. Not allowing cell phones during passing periods. We had a conversation about, that would be almost impossible at the high school to enforce. It would be impossible to enforce,
Well, there
right?
was-
With the kids sitting at the lockers, the way the lockers are situated at the high school, it would be impossible to enforce that.
Well, there was some confusion. They thought some people thought that was a rule now, too. They thought that's how it was now, and then they're like, well, why are we,
Yeah,
going
it's
to
not
change
changing the
that?
rule.
But yes,
It's the
then
same rule we have in
some people were
place.
like, oh, okay, so this is
Yeah.
how it is, and then, yeah.
And we had lots of discussion
Yeah,
on
and they
that
didn't-
one too.
They didn't stick around. I wish they would have stuck around and been a part
Heard
of,
the
listened to the
end of the
conversation.
discussion.
And then I did call that person, and left them a message to have a conversation, and they just didn't get back to me. Because I wanted to share the conversation that we had.
Yeah.
That
And
was
if you look
another
at the high
thing that we had
school and how
discussion.
the lockers are set up, it's, right.
Well, and it's not just that, it's just even during passing time, and I mean, like you said, it's nearly impossible.
At the high school
It's
level, it would be.
impossible at the
Well,
high
and there
school
are
level.
many people, we don't have payphones anymore, there are many people who are going to text or leave their kid a message of what's going on after school, sometime during the day. So, I mean, and you know what, if it's about harassment, et cetera, if you think you're a target of something, don't go look at your phone. Just don't go look at it.
And come let us know.
Well, and let
let
somebody
somebody
know.
know.
Let
Right.
somebody know.
So the first reading, we obviously do not need a
Nope.
motion, and there is no second reading.
No,
Yeah, but I got good questions here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Uh-oh,
can you-
Adam's got the highlighted stuff.
Can you
Oh,
open 5136 that we were just discussing?
I'm sorry, Adam,
Which
I did
one?
not realize that there was.
5136?
Yeah, we were just discussing it.
Oh, that was-
Cell phone, personal communication devices,
no.
5136,
Okay.
top of page 2. End of option D.
Okay.
Got it?
Page
And the
2.
option what?
No, just right at the very top of the second page.
Okay.
Students may not use PCDs, their phones, on school property or at school-sponsored activities to access and/or view internet websites that are otherwise blocked to students at school. There's no enforcement. You can't do that. You can't say that because that's what students do. So we either have to have an enforcement of that, or is this only in here so when someone messes up, they can have an offense that can be brought forward? Because there's.
I see what you're saying, because
right.
you can't really, how do you monitor it?
Well, that's what students are doing,
Right.
sorry. The minute
Yeah.
they're looking at those websites, that's why they have a phone.
Right, because it's blocked on here.
Right, well, it's not blocked on yours, but it's blocked
Well,
on theirs.
but, I mean, yeah, if this was, it's blocked on yours, I'm sure, Caleb.
So we either leave it in there and you can use it as a tool.
That's probably what it's there for, right? It's there as a tool, right? If people are looking at things and it causes issues, then you have some recourse to follow.
Then I think we need to reframe it in that way with different wording. Can we send it back? Because there's, then down below, just a little bit further down, it says, except as authorized, is crossed out by a teacher, administrator, or IEP team. So it's like just a little bit down there.
Yep.
In red. It says, students are prohibited from using their devices during school day, including while off campus or on a field trip, to capture, record, and transmit words and sounds and images. They can't take pictures or videos.
Of any student or staff member, other person without their permission,
Right,
except
but it
as
happens
authorized
constantly. It's happening constantly.
by a teacher.
They're constantly taking pictures and video, all the time. At school, after school,
But
during
we
field
still
trips.
have to have that as a rule.
I'm just saying, they're doing it, so this says they can't do it, and they're doing it all the time.
Right, so the reason it's in there though is if.
I get that.
So if you say afterwards, like, I didn't give him permission to post that, I have to have some recourse to be able to do something about it.
So how do we write it in a way to use it that way, but also they're doing it? You can't say don't do it if they're, so you understand the conflict?
Well, I feel like you could
I
say
do.
that about it.
I guess
Should we kick it back?
I don't have the issue with it, but.
Right.
I
just know what it was.
I don't, we can take it back and
We
look
can
at
take
it,
it
I
back
don't
and
know
look
how
at
it's
it.
gonna
All
get
the
set
time.
much different, to be very
I
honest.
don't
Well,
think you can
let's-
give
let's
permission
have that
and have
discussion.
something
Yeah.
for
I
I mean, I
think-
understand what you're saying.
I think I look at this policy and I think what we need to do is educate our
Yeah,
students
for sure.
on what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. Like the other night, after one of the football games, they had something in the locker room where the guys are all jumping around. I thought, that's not okay. You're not
That's in
supposed to
this
be
policy.
filming
You
in the
can't do
darn
that.
locker room.
Right.
So, you know, I mean,
Because like a school property, school-sponsored activities still fall under all the rules of the school,
yes.
you know. So, yes, I understand, like, there,
We can take it back.
We can look at it. We might not do much with it. We might try
We
to
only
do
have
something
28
with it.
next time, so.
Yeah, we
And
only
then
have 20.
I have one question for the two nurses here. It's in policy 8453. Oh, what?
Oh, we got a PA too.
And a PA, sorry.
80
PA can hop into
What
it.
is it?
8453.
Oh, it's the first one.
It's first one,
Oh.
there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Bloodborne pathogens.
Now, what about it?
Part B.
Part B.
So it just might be outdated, that's all, right? So Part B says,
Oh,
so you've
yeah.
been exposed to blood for some reason, and then this is what will happen. This district will provide for inoculation of Hep B vaccine at no cost to the staff member.
What's gonna happen if you show up in the emergency
I don't know
room
why I
because you've
downloaded
had a bloodborne pathogen exposure? They're going to give you a hepatitis B shot if
no
you've
charge.
not yet had one.
Right.
Most,
And we would end up paying for
I was
that.
gonna say,
Right.
any facility I've worked at, that's a,
Right.
that's a cost paid
Yeah.
to to an employee.
But doesn't our health insurance just cover that anyway?
Not,
I mean,
What if
in
they
the
don't, what if
past-
they don't have the health
but-
insurance? What if they're covered by somebody else? You know, by their spouse or,
it's just in there
So
that it's
no, I
gonna
get
get
it,
taken
I
care of.
get it. So Hep B, Hep C, and HIV/AIDS are the three big ones.
Right, but Hep B is the one that you can give the
You
vaccination
could,
for.
there's the only vaccine for that one.
Yes.
But there's antivirals for Hep C, and it cures Hep C really well, so would we also pay for those?
I don't think that's indicated in a, as far
this
as I can
comes
tell
right from the,
I get it, I'm just saying, well, why wouldn't we add Hep C antivirals or HIV antivirals?
I
Well,
thought that
first of
came
all,
from
you
the
can't
statute.
prove that you would have gotten HIV from one incident.
Very true.
And the hepatitis B is only if you haven't had a vaccine yet, they're gonna give it to you.
Right.
Because hepatitis B is the only one of all of them you're saying that has
The only
a
one with a vaccine.
pre-vaccine. It's the only one that makes sense.
Any more discussion about any of the other policies?
So policy 5136, we will take back to the policy committee.
Okay.
Right.
Great discussion, you guys. It's all good stuff. All right, we do not have any second reading policies, and we have donation from the Lodi Optimist Club.
Oh, nice.
I make a motion to accept with great gratitude the donation of $1,000 to the Thai exchange program, Thailand exchange program, and the $550 donation to the Blue Wave Wind program from the Lodi Optimist Club.
A second that.
Motion by Adam, second by Terry. Any more discussion?
And I should add that the $1,000 Thai land exchange program donation was an anonymous donation.
Oh, how sweet.
Yes. I see, yeah.
Thank you, someone.
I kind of worded that wrong too, actually, when I said that, yeah. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, our committee reports. CISA 5.
CISA 5, we did three things. We reviewed Jeremy, the head of CISA 5, which was very different than reviewing Vince. So it
Was that
very,
good or bad, Adam?
No, it was good. It was all good. It was all good. It was just a very different process. It was just uniquely different. And then we heard from, let me get the name because I will get it wrong. Erica, is that it? Nystrom Grothhaus, Special Education?
Yeah.
Who has over 170 employees at CISA 5. It's just crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and special ed, and she went into all the stuff that they do with special ed. So that was really good. And then Mike Coltis talked about the business services, and like I already said earlier, they're trying to hire as many people as they can. They'll take 100 more people if they can get them.
Good field to go into.
Yeah.
Anyone's listening.
Yeah.
Just local, right here, down the road. You will have a job immediately. That was the whole meeting.
I miss all those people. All right, thank you. Co-curricular.
Cross-country, the cross-country team had a busy last month of competition. On October 14th, the cross-country team participated in the Capital Conference meet. Top 10 finishers include Roger Mellon, 2nd, Brooke Endres, 5th, Everett Clemens, 9th, Walter Bell, 10th, and Riley Wilcox, 10th. The season came to an end at sectionals on October 21st at Monroe, with the boys' team finishing 5th and the girls' team finishing 9th. The Lodi football team finished the regular season undefeated, earning a Capital Conference championship. The Blue Devils earned a #1 seed in the playoffs and defeated Mauston, West Salem, and Xavier at home to advance to level 4 of the playoffs this past week versus Baldwin Woodville at Arcadia High School. The Blue Devils were up 28-21 at halftime and put together a strong second half win to 49-29 to advance to the WIAA Division IV State Championship. Lodi will take on Luxembourg Casco on Thursday night at 7 p.m. at Camp Randall. The varsity boys soccer team finished the season with an overall record of 12-4 and a conference record of 4-2. Lodi earned a #6 seed and defeated Richland Center at home on Thursday, October 19th, with a 3-1 victory. Their season came to an end in the regional game, losing 3-2 to Sheboygan Christian Lutheran. The volleyball team finished the season with an overall record of 18-16 and a conference record of 5-3. Their season came to an end with a 3-1 loss at Watoma on October 17th in the first round of the playoffs. The swim team had a strong end to the season, with the team finishing in 12th place at the WIAA Division I. I didn't realize they were Division I. Sectional at Middleton High School on November 4th. Lodi student Ginny, I apologize if you pronounce your name incorrectly, Ginny Longi, broke the school record at the 100-meter breaststroke with a time of 1 minute, 10.76 seconds. The Lodi eSport team finished the season 2-5 in the Super Smash Brothers season, defeating Dodgeville High School and the Green Bay New School of Innovation this season. And as we've heard multiple times, this year's musical Mamma Mia just finished its opening weekend between the cast, crew, and orchestra. 66 Lodi High School students are involved, and over 1,000 guests saw the production opening weekend. There are 2 more opportunities to catch the show on Friday, November 17th at 7 p.m. and Saturday, November 18th at 7 p.m. Ordering tickets ahead is recommended.
I think you have to.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
You can find that link on the website, school website, and
We're walking in.
lots of people are sharing it on Facebook, so.
No, it's great, they have reserved seating now.
Yeah.
I remember in Skies in school, I'm saving all those seats. All right, OSC.
So, the main thing that's going on at OSC right now, we have a meeting 2 days from now. Cliff Thompson, who is the consultant that they're working with, kind of like be looking at a lot of different things, is gonna be presenting at the board meeting, so I will have more to share about that.
I've heard that very good things about him too, so.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Personnel Committee meeting.
Okay.
Or committee report, sorry.
So, oops, hold on, where was I? Personnel.
Sorry, do it right away. Someone in between, right?
Well, we talked about some of the things, but, so a couple of things that we talked about, were just a few things that were kind of brought up to clarify, in the handbooks and so forth. One is professional improvement plans. We had just a discussion about how those are run and what the handbook says, and that, the main thing is like, each one's a little bit different, so the legal counsel is involved in each of them to make sure that things are clear. PPG and compensation, there was a discussion about just making it clear, so, compensation has several components, and so, and each year there is also the, increases that we tie to CPI, or we use CPI as a guideline. So, one thing that was requested is that we make it clear as which parts of that compensation are the PPG parts and which are the performance side and the general. So it's we just haven't done a good job of making that clear when that is decided. So we will do that. And then then we just did talk about the subbing, the compensation for subbing if you're a teacher and you are bringing extra kids into your classroom. We voted on that earlier. And then there's an insurance committee, which I'm on. And the health insurance has had a 3-year lock,
Yeah.
which is great. And then when the 3 years ends, it's not great. So it's just a process. We just obviously want to get the best insurance, the best price for everybody. So there's a series of meetings that we are doing to talk to staff. There's quite a few people on the committee.
So getting input from a bunch of.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then having people coming in to help us with that, what do we call them? The insurance consultants.
Consultants.
Yeah.
Angie, when does that end, that block?
At the end of this school year.
The school year?
Yeah,
This is
end of
the
the
third
school
year.
year, so it's time to.
School year.
Yep, so it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Yep.
All right, thank you. Curriculum.
Yes, we had Elise Kearney come in and give us an overview of the 4K-12 Reading Language Arts Department. And she spoke about what each school is doing, and the primary school, the staff continue to be focused on implementing phonics to reading and leveraging decodable text. The elementary school teachers continue to focus on their implementation of MyView literacy. At the middle school level, teachers are continuing to engage in the pilot process and will be reviewing training soon so they can pilot a unit of My Perspectives. At the high school level, teachers are continuing to dig into the ACT, College Career Readiness Standards for reading, and have some next steps as a result of their recent training with an ACT rep. Mr. Potter gave an update about the STEM Academy, and we actually had Zion Kurtz come in. He is a student of this program, and so he goes to Madison College full-time in this, and he gave his purview on it and his perspective, and he actually wanted to urge the board to consider paying full tuition costs for students that are in this program. We send two students to this, and we pay a third board. Thank you. And so he just said, you know, it's such a great opportunity for him. He has a passion for it and would love to see other students. We had a discussion on why we're pretty much the only school that doesn't, and it's to size, you know, it's our budget, it's what we can do right now, but it's definitely something that as we look to the future, maybe we consider it, maybe we look and see, you know, is this something that we can do or not do?
Yeah, he did great
We have 4 students, we have 2 each, with 2 juniors and 2 seniors.
Okay, so
Sorry.
4,
Yeah,
yes,
so
in the
4.
program. So it was just great to hear what, I mean, my head was spinning on where he's going in life. Like, he is a
Excited.
bright,
So
brilliant
excited.
kid
Yeah.
who really is gonna do amazing things, and it's really cool to see that. So I was really grateful that he came and spoke with us. We had a lovely discussion on AI, and Tyler continued to share his information with us, and it was just fascinating, and it's just neat to see where it's going, where it's at, and then where it's going, and where, you know, just to try to imagine where it
It's
could
gonna
go.
go, yeah.
Right, that's almost as fun as hearing what it can do. We talked about the new course proposals, which we approved tonight, and then we talked about Act 20 more in depth, and then our future agenda items, which we have a meeting this Wednesday. Physical Education, the Health Department will come and give a report, and then we'll discuss the district school state accountability report cards.
Awesome, thank you. Facility and Finance.
We met on November 1st. Mr. Hoff, the high school band director, came and gave us a presentation outlining the band uniforms and their proposal. To summarize, the current uniforms are approximately 15 years old, so they are looking at options for new uniforms. He shared a couple of options with us. 2 of them were very similar, one was different. 2 of them were more traditional outfit or uniforms that would last for a longer period of time. One was a less expensive option, but not necessarily last as long. We asked for some additional information detailing numbers of students that are in the band and likely coming forward from the middle school into the high school. The proposal was for anywhere from 80 to 100 uniforms. So we wanted to get some additional information. We also asked what are some possible alternatives to the 3 proposals he gave us, including the possibility of uniforms band uniforms on the secondary market. Band uniform, the first 2 options were between $500 and $600 per uniform, which was eye-opening to me. And then the other 3rd option,
With the hat.
yeah, that was all
I
in.
need to get in the band uniform business.
And the other options that wouldn't necessarily wouldn't last as long were $200 to $300. So
How
it's
long do they think the $500 ones would last? Did he know?
approximately the same
15
life
15
as
years.
the current.
The other ones were like spandex, or like Under Armour type.
So this will likely come before the full board at some point. We just want an idea. I questioned the numbers of students, the 80 to 100, you know, doing the math. So we just want to get some more information, and again, I think that's something that the full board will be discussing at some point as to what they think the best route to go. We talked about green space. That was mainly for us to get ready for our presentation. We talked about CTE/PAC space. We don't need to talk about that anymore. And we talked about ESSER 3 funds, and at the meeting, we recommended to the board the Spotlight purchase, and the other that we recommended for the board, but I think that's on hold, is the backup for the internet system.
Okay.
So that's something that I think Tyler's looking into, but we thought that would be something worthwhile.
Is that stemmed from when we were out for a few days?
Yeah, so we were looking at the possibility of a backup internet system. So that was one of the things that was on the alternate list for ESSER 3 when we're looking at it, and the committee decided to move that to the full board. In conversation with Tyler, we felt we needed to have a little more information to make sure that it would be as effective as we hope it will be. before we go down that road. So Tyler's has been doing a little more digging. We have a school district that's putting in the same system. So one of the things is we may pause and wait to
See how it goes.
see how it
for them.
works, right?
See how it works.
Make sure it works and
Perfect
it does
ATM
what it
and a
says
string
it's
out.
gonna do. So,
I was just
Thank you,
surprised
Tyler,
that,
for looking into that.
I was surprised we just didn't have a backup.
Yeah.
It's like
You
having
know.
an
I
emergency
guess I never
generator.
would have thought of it,
Yeah.
except that time where they didn't have it,
well, it
so.
would be a cellular backup.
Well, yeah.
So we wouldn't get, so that's the piece that questions
Right.
how much, the, what
Yeah.
the sustainability and the breadth of that would be, so, well,
More to come.
yeah, more to come.
All right, thank you. Policy.
Well, all I have is that we are taking 5136, our personal communication devices back, but otherwise we're
Plugging along.
We just
Plugging
keep
right
doing the
along.
same thing every time.
Thank you guys for doing that too. I've been to those meetings and watched you guys and
Yeah, well, thank you for coming in.
try. It's mainly just so I can comprehend everything. Otherwise, I feel like when I'm reading it at home, I'm like,
Oh,
It's
I
hard
know.
reading.
I know.
A lot of words.
There are so many words.
all right, so we have our future meeting. So our next regular school board meeting is Monday, December 11th at 5:30 with the closed session. 6:30 will be open
I
session.
will not be at that meeting.
Yes,
so-
Angie will, you are attending virtually, you're not going,
I will
you'll
not be able,
okay.
yeah, sorry,
Okay.
I just can't.
You can't be two places at once, come on. Personnel Committee will be Wednesday, January 3rd at 4:30. Our Curriculum Committee meeting will be this Wednesday, November 15th at 4:30, followed by our Policy Committee at 6 o'clock. And then our Facility and Finance Committee meeting will be Wednesday, December 6th at 5 o'clock.
Mo, I'm gonna be on the road I won't be
For the.
present for the policy
Okay,
Wednesday,
Policy, that's right.
but I'll either virtually or phone. I'll be in a hotel somewhere in Ohio.
You're driving down the road.
No, yeah.
Reading
No.
policies.
No, I should be
Yeah,
at
where
the
are you
hotel by
gonna, how are
then.
you gonna have all
I guess
your-
I don't know what the time change, if there's a time change in Ohio.
Gonna have your, figure that all out, let's see. You're gonna have your printed
Yeah,
policies?
Okay.
what's happening with the papers, though, that?
She's gonna.
I'll
give
have
them
'em.
to me.
I have 'em.
She's gonna give them to me beforehand.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
thank you.
I'll get them, all the little typos.
Because I don't want to have to do
No, I know.
Okay.
I'll get it.
And I believe we do not need to go back to closed session,
No,
correct?
just a reminder, we have the Linkage session tomorrow at the primary school, if you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either be square.
All right.
Or be around.
Okay.
Would anybody like?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Sarah, second by Christie. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0, meeting is done.